Sorry, we were having technical difficulties.
Your microphone.
No directors are on Zoom at the moment.
Jim's
Okay, yeah, would you let me know when?
Yes,
I
I'll let
think
him into the meeting.
President Hopkins is going to try to be on Zoom,
Certainly.
so let me know. Okay. All right, Pledge of Allegiance, led by Director Norman.
Please stand. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated.
All right, we are on the air on Channel 6. We're also on Zoom and Granicus, so that covers our media, unless there's somebody else in the audience from another media source. Don't see one. Okay. Approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Egon?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we add to the agenda under unfinished business an update on potential closure of the PAC in upcoming months.
Potential closure of what?
PAC.
The PAC.
There's letters been going out about it. Okay, with that added as 11E, may I have a motion to approve the agenda? Donna? Second?
Second.
Any opposed?
Okay. Any opposed?
Can I ask
Chris?
Egon to explain what he just said? I couldn't understand what he said. Add what?
Closing the PAC.
We're asking for an update on the closing dates of the PAC. There are apparently some closing.
Closing our Performing Arts Center?
Right.
For what?
Well, that's what we want to find out. I'm sure Allison will tell us all about it.
Okay, thank you.
So it's just an update.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any objections to the agenda as amended? Okay, without objection, it is passed unanimously.
Want to move the committee appointments? We can do that at the consent calendar.
Well, it's on the consent calendar. So we're not there yet. Okay, how about approval of the minutes? We have 2 minutes. We have the regular open meeting from August 6th and the agenda prep meeting from August 15th. Are there any additions, directions, corrections to those? Any objections to those minutes? All right, they are both approved without objection by consent. Report of the chair. We have a very full meeting this morning, and I know personally, we all, because of the problems they had with the printing shop, everybody didn't get all of their stuff maybe as early as they would like. There are a lot of things to go over. I hope that you've had a chance to look at them online if you didn't come by during the weekend and pick them up. It's important stuff that's taken a long time going through, and I just really hope that we're not going to get tied up at this meeting because they weren't out a long time in advance. Okay, CEO report. Siobhan.
Thank you, Honorable First Vice President. I have a few updates I'd like to share this morning, and then I'm going to ask Chuck to give the group an update on the ERP system. First of all, I wanted to remind residents that we've heard that the Laguna Hills DMV is scheduled to close permanently on Friday, October 11th. According to the DMV, the Laguna Hills office does not meet the current needs of the DMV. The next nearest DMVs for in-person visits are in Santa Ana, San Clemente, and Costa Mesa. We are working closely with the city on this, and South Orange County legislators are taking action. On August 26th, 7 state assembly members and 4 state senators signed a letter to the DMV Director Steve Gordon asking him to prioritize constituents of South Orange County and reconsider the closure. They've also asked to meet with Director Gordon this week to discuss the feasibility of renegotiating the existing lease or identifying alternative sites to offer services. We encourage residents to help campaign to keep the Laguna Hills DMV open and operational. In Friday's What's Up in the Village, we sent links to digital messages, emails, and form letters that residents may download, print, date, sign, and mail to the governor, Governor Gavin Newsom, State Senator Dave Min, State Assembly Member Diane Dixon, and California DMV Director Steve Gordon. These are available on the Village website under the News tab. Village residents may also pick up pre-addressed envelopes for all 4 letters at the Laguna Woods concierge desk here in the lobby. So we encourage residents to help us in this effort. And again, we are cooperating with the city to try to bring about a change to this announcement. The Laguna Woods Village 60th anniversary celebration is occurring next Monday, September 9th at 5 p.m. at Clubhouse 2, both the front and back patios and the ballroom. This features the Woods combo, giveaways, food options, and Clubhouse displays. There are many special guests as listed on the screen before you, including the History Center, the Foundation of Laguna Woods, the Village Community Fund, Thrive, GRF United, Third Mutual, and Mutual 50, their boards of directors, various VMS departments, as well as the Moulton Museum, Saddleback Emeritus, and Florence Sylvester Senior Center. Memorial Care joins us with free giveaways and healthy treats, a display, and a health insurance Medicare expert to answer questions and more. There will be complimentary shuttle service from 4:30 to 8 p.m. to and from Clubhouse 7, from the community center and the employee parking lot off of Campo Verde. There will be food for purchase from Restaurant 19 and a GRF no-host bar with signature cocktails. Seating is limited, so lawn chairs are welcome. We also want to encourage residents to save these disaster preparedness task force dates. On Tuesday, October 8th, residents are encouraged to participate in the Security Services and Disaster Preparedness Task Force Expo. This will be held in Clubhouse 5, where residents may meet vendors, experience an earthquake simulator, find disaster preparedness supplies, and discover additional resources. Additionally, on Thursday, October 17th at 10:17 a.m., residents are encouraged to participate in the annual statewide Great Shakeout Earthquake Drill and prepare for disaster by identifying drop, cover, and hold locations, inventorying personal emergency supplies, updating emergency contact information with friends and family, and visiting the shakeout.org/California for more information and to register. And a reminder that kudos cards are a great way for residents to acknowledge VMS staff who've provided excellent customer service or have gone above and beyond. Residents may share details about these interactions and positive customer service by writing them on a kudos card, which is shared with management directly and other VMS staff via the company's employee newsletter. Kudos cards are available at Clubhouse offices and here at the concierge desk in the community center. Residents may also share the same feedback electronically by emailing info@vmsinc.org. Now it is my pleasure to turn this over to Chuck Holland, our Information Systems Director, for a very important update on a key project.
Good morning, Madam First Vice President, members of the board. My name is Chuck Holland. I'm the Information Services Director here at Laguna Woods Village. As Siobhan has kindly pointed out, that we've hit a major milestone in our ERP project. I know, to demystify what that term means, ERP, what does that mean, right? An ERP is an Enterprise Resource Planning System. To make it even simpler, it's a financial software system that enables us to conduct business on behalf of the village. This system includes things like accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger, budgeting, fixed assets, sales, service, and many, 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 many other more functions. This project started a couple years ago, and we kicked it off on the design and analysis phase in June of 2022. The team members have been working diligently and very, very hard over the last couple of years. with many trials and tribulations, lots of ups and downs. But I'm happy to say today we went live with that project as of today, right? We spent the weekend migrating all of our data. The system is up and running and live and operational right now. We've been able, there are certain milestones that we have to meet this week in order for us to really call this a success. The first things that we need to be able to do is run our monthly roll, right? Every single month, all of our residents have to be billed for their monthly assessments. We are able to successfully do that this weekend so that the system will be working as expected. The next big milestone that we have this week is operating our banking situation, right? We want to make sure all of our accounts receivables are working correctly, all your account balances are working correctly. And most importantly, we need to be able to cut checks to make sure our vendors are being paid, right? So that's what we got scheduled for this first week of operation. We won't really call this a slam dunk success until the end of the month. Here's why, because at the end of the month, we're going to close our books for the first time. This will enable us to put together all of our income statements, our balance sheets, all of our departmental financial reports. And once we are able to do that and close those books successfully, hey, we'll call this one a win. Call this a win. Now, this is just the very, very beginning, right? We're handling all the financial aspect of this now. What's next? Phase 2 and Phase 3. Phase 2 is going to be all of our maintenance operations. This is everything to do with our field services, right? Modernizing our field service operation is really important because it impacts you directly. With the Phase 1, with all the financial services, it's going to be really invisible to you. But the real big benefit to you is on Phase 2 when we launch our new field services module, which will be hopefully within the next 6 months. We'll be kicking off that once we close our first month end here this first month, and we get accounting self-sufficient, up and running, doing their thing. We're going to switch gears and move to Phase 2 and start working with the maintenance department to move forward with Phase 2 of the operation. Good news is, even though our project is a little bit later than what we anticipated is, budgeting is looking good. We are still under budget for this particular project. However, we have consumed about 70% of the budget, right? We have about 30% of the budget to go, but the Phase 2 and Phases 3, they're nowhere near as complicated as our financial operations. So we're still hoping that we're going to stay within the same time frame and the same budget that we originally indicated when we kicked this project off. So far, so good. Wish us luck, and we'll keep the ITAC committee up to date if there's anything of the pros and cons that are going on this next week. And hopefully by the end of the month, we'll give you some good news when we close out our first month's books. I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chuck.
Any questions from the board? Just congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Something that's really neat for our community. Okay, now we go to the open forum. Do we have any speakers, Michaela?
Yes, we have three. First speaker is Chris Collins.
Good morning, Chris Collins, 3306Q. I'm here with an update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village that we do on behalf of residents that are experiencing temporary financial crisis. The Good Neighbor Project. A sense of community develops in different ways, but the surest way is social interaction. For example, sharing experiences, making connections, discussing issues, solving problems. By causing fear and isolation, the pandemic disrupted our sense of community, the social fabric of our village. For our continued well-being and health, particularly as we age, reestablishing the social fabric is essential. Getting to know our neighbors and working on community projects are some of the ways we do this. So using specifically dedicated bequest funds, the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village Good Neighbor Project this summer is beginning a step in this process. So as part of the Foundation's Good Neighbor Project, 6 village clubs proposals were selected from those proposed to receive seed money to implement activities that will help connect the fabric. The Baha'i Club is participating without foundation funds. In addition, a new initiative with the Village Good Neighbor, the Florence Sylvester Senior Center, will also begin in September. There's 7 projects, all different, with different audiences, activities, and purposes. One is targeted to game players, one is focused on culture, one involves nutrition, while one involves book lovers, and another pickleball. All the activities will take place this September to celebrate National Good Neighbor Day, which is actually on September 28th. The hope is that everyone will find an activity to participate in. Here's just a quick overview of some of the projects. The African American Club will host an International Game Day on September 17th. The Camera Club will be hosting residential pet photographic portraits, and those dates and locations will be announced. The Chinese American Club will hold its Mid-Autumn Festival show on September 19th. The Pickleball Club will be hosting a series of pop-up pickleball experiences, beginning with Grandparents' Day on September 8th. The Publishing Club will be sponsoring Book Buddies, which is pairing resident authors with other residents interested in sharing books with one another. And then the Baha'i Club will be hosting a Good Neighbor dinner and program on Tuesday, September 10th. So now then, beginning on September 9th, as part of a program called the Nutrition Connections to encourage village residents to learn about and participate in the Florence Sylvester Community Center, the foundation is proposing a particular initiative there. I'm out of time, so thank you. But I think these are going to be very interesting, and we're really hoping that the community really embraces them. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the foundation for this project. All
Next,
right, do we have any? Oh,
yes, sorry, we have two more. Next speaker is Richard Rader.
Dick Rader, 270D. I want to make a public announcement. There's a very important meeting this Thursday, September 5th, at the Performing Arts Center in the theater at 1:30 p.m. This meeting is being brought about because the entire third board of directors voted unanimously to initiate a recall of two GRF directors, Jim Hopkins, the president, I don't know if he's on Zoom, and Yvonne Horton, another director. Attending this meeting, you will hear the pros and cons for the recall. But it's interesting, when you look at the agenda, first item of the agenda is a presentation on the governance of our community. Why is that? It is because there is apparently a movement to change how our community is run. Going to this meeting will be the first time that you will hear this. And I encourage you to come to this meeting. At this meeting, the directors of United Third and Mutual 50 will decide whether to vote for the recall or not. It is the first time that not only will you hear about the potential change of governance of our community, it's also the first time that you'll have an opportunity to voice your opinion in person to your elected representatives, those directors of all the boards, and let them know whether you're for or against this recall. I encourage everybody who has bought into this village to attend that meeting, September 5th, this Thursday, 1:30, at the theater in the PAC. Thank you.
Thank you. Final speaker for open forum is Jules Dallin.
Good morning. A general comment about how we run our little community. Municipalities operate with strict guidelines. It means when a government operates outside the guidelines, a court can quickly bring it back into compliance because its residents are protected by laws and rules that apply to everyone. But HOAs, we're told, they're different. We're not a government, we're just a group of individuals come together under a contractual umbrella. Contract law mostly applies to our relationship. So when we prosecute and convict members in circumstances that would clearly violate a citizen's constitutional rights, we're told boards don't have to respect those rights. Constitutional rights only protect against government actions, and our HOAs are not real governments, or so our lawyers tell us. But that's plumb wrong. When members sue their HOAs, courts regularly demand constitutional protection. Here's a famous quote. These quasi-government entities, quote, must be held to a high standard of responsibility, manifested in the requirement of due process, equal protection, fair dealing. These are all constitutional principles. The only reason we don't see more cases is that our members rarely hire lawyers. It's expensive to sue an HOA, and the loser can pay the winner's legal fees. Without going into detail, I could detail 10 examples of where members were convicted of so-called violations that, if brought in a municipality, would have been laughed at court. Here's the problem. Every time a member is mistreated, it creates an angry member. And like a pebble thrown into a pond in an ever-widening circle, it adds those members' friends who are also likely to get angry. Given the tiny benefit our mutuals are likely to obtain, even if we find the hell out of these members, and trust me, it happens a lot, the antipathy of even a single member weakens the glue that binds us together. We're just a bunch of neighbors come together to make life as pleasant as possible while we await the grim reaper. Our first priority should be to make everybody comfortable, not to act like vindictive avengers intent on enforcing unnecessary restrictions. The number one quality members desire of a director is being treated with a sense of kindness. If members feel they're being treated fairly, no one will ever need to demand their constitutional rights, because they will already be getting them by being treated fairly. But every time a member is treated unfairly, we risk the chance that the issue winds up in court. And if that occurs, we're likely to lose in more ways than one. Thank you.
And that is all for open forum speakers.
All right. Do we have any responses to the open forum speakers from the board? Seeing none, we'll go on to the consent calendar. We have 2 items on the consent calendar: the recommendation of the Finance Committee and the update of the committee appointments. Are there any additions, corrections, et cetera, to the consent calendar? Normally they are voted on as one thing. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Did you want me to read?
All right, Joan moves. Do I have a second?
Donna.
Donna. Are there any objections to the consent calendar? All right, it is accepted without objection. Okay, we're down to unfinished business, which we have a lot. Okay, we will start with our Clubhouse 1 renovation update. And I think I see Guy. There we go.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here. Good morning, Board of Directors. Thank you for this opportunity to give you a report on an update on the Clubhouse 1 project, which is renovation. I have a presentation that I'd like to present to you, as well as I'll give you a brief update. So last time we reported that the contractor said that they would be substantially complete with their project at the end of August. I'm happy to say that they are substantially completed. So now we're starting the next process, which is our punch list inspection. That means staff goes into the facility, they take the scope of work, and they look at each item, they operate it, they make sure that it is installed per plan, and once we finalize that and we're satisfied with our punch list, we will then be turning it over to the recreation staff so that they can prepare the facility to reopen. So that's where we are as of now. And so I'll give you this presentation, kind of give you an outline of what the project entailed. So here's a site map that you see up on the screen. And the areas that are highlighted are the areas that we performed work on. All the other areas were not in our scope of work. And so a part of this is we've outlined these buildings as Building F, which has the drop-in lounge, the conference room 1, conference room 2, the new billiards room, and it also has some restrooms. Building G is the ballroom. Building A, we have the game room and the multi-purpose room, as well as some restrooms. Building B, it is the new multi-purpose room, pool locker rooms. Building C is the fitness center. And you can see on those buildings that are highlighted, those are the areas that were included in our scope of work. The project was more of a beautification than an actual full renovation of the facility. That was determined by the committee and the board. So there were some options that were presented at one point in time. They were very expensive options. So the committee appointed, or the board appointed, an ad hoc committee to take a look at the facility, and they prioritized the scope of work that they wanted done, and that's what we've done today. So next. Some of those items, this is just a summary, it's not the complete scope of work, but I just want to highlight some of the items, which is new paint on the interior and exterior, replace the flooring, replace wall acoustics, install window treatments, remove surface-mounted electrical, and replace with code-compliant in-wall electrical. And what that means is most of the electrical was run on the outside, on the surface of the wall. So what we've done is made sure that all of that was placed inside the wall. So if you look around any modern room, you'll see that electricity doesn't run on the outside of walls. That's what that means. We also have kitchenettes. We replace cabinets, appliances, countertops, backsplash, sink, and plumbing fixtures. The restroom and pool locker rooms replace tile, counter, sinks, toilets, partitions, mirrors, and lighting. We replace the ballroom fireplace facade, replace ballroom chandeliers, install wall mirrors where applicable, install new ballroom screen projector, retrofitted windows and exterior doors, and then there was some minor asbestos abatement that was done as a part of this scope of work. So just to give you a visual on some of the areas, these pictures were taken before it was fully completed. So you'll see some work still happening in those spaces. But here's the exterior of the building as it was painted. Next slide. So to the left, you'll see those are the new doors that were installed. The other two pictures, one in center, one in right, are showing the new windows that were installed. Here is the drop-in lounge. These are the new cabinets and appliances, countertop sink, new lighting. Conference room 1. Both the conference rooms have kitchenettes. So in this first photo, or in the first set of photos, we're showing the room. You can see the kitchenette in the background, then a more closer look at the kitchenette. And then conference room 2 is just the same. We just provided a single photo for this. You can see that the flooring was replaced in both those, as well as a lot of the other appliances. Here is the new billiards room. We put in the overhead lighting. It also has a kitchenette. And the lighting was laid out so that it is over the pool table layout that was provided by the billiard group. Here is a typical photo of what the restrooms look like. All the restrooms have the same finishes, and so that's what the new restrooms look like. Here's the ballroom. You can see the new chandeliers, the new fireplace facade in the background, and all new windows and doors were installed. Plus, there is a new acoustics that are on the walls. for the sound. Here we have, this is the card room. This took a lot of work in here. There was, it was just old. This is probably one of the oldest rooms that, had all the original stuff from the 1960s. So we fully renovated this space, including asbestos abatement. Here is the multi-purpose room. You can see it has new flooring. There was a drop ceiling at one time. Now there's a hard lid ceiling with all new LED lighting. And then the doors and windows were also replaced. Full set of mirrors on one of the walls. It's not in this picture, but that's what's included. Here is the old billiards room, which is another new multi-purpose room. So it gives you an idea. This had some architectural features that were not replaced. It was felt that that this was installed at the original, and because of the architectural features, we wanted to keep it as a part of the original design. Here are the locker rooms and the restrooms that connected to the locker rooms. As you can see, the partitions are leaning up against the wall. That's when they were installed, are delivered for installation. And there are the countertops with the sinks and mirrors. All new tile on the walls, tile from floor to ceiling, new LED lights, new windows, doors. Here's the fitness center. As you can see, there's new painting. Those beams that you see overhead and the ductwork were all painted. New flooring was placed, and now the equipment's being, in this photo, you can see that they are putting the equipment in place, and our staff is helping with that endeavor. Here's a picture of the site. We used the drone to get a picture because the parking lot was seal-coated and restriped, and we wanted to give a visual of what that looks like. It looks very clean and new. We're real pleased with the work that was done there. And then as a part, not a part of the scope of work, but another project that we did during this project was the pool replaster. So we just wanted to provide a photo of what that looks like. Also, the overhead structure was painted, and so it's all fresh and clean. I'm sure everyone's dying to get into the pool, especially with the weather that we're having, and we're trying to get it open as soon as possible. And I know Recreation has some dates in mind, but it looks like this month this facility will be fully open. Thank you.
Question.
Yes, Kush, start.
Guy, I have a few questions for you. You said at the end of the month. Do you have a date in mind?
So the project, as I said, is substantially complete. There's going to be pickup items through this punch list that we're working on now. Once that's done, we turn over Recreation. I believe they need a couple of weeks to make sure that they have all the furnishings, and there's tables that they're getting rid of, and there's tables that they're bringing in. They can speak more to that, but it's going to take some time to get it ready so that when it is open, that it's fully functional for the residents.
So you don't have a date in mind?
I don't have that date for you. I'm sorry. But it will be this month.
Will we, as directors, be able to go and take a quick preview before we open it to the rest of the community?
I'm sure that could be arranged.
Okay.
It has been.
And is it possible that you can email us this presentation?
Yeah, we can have that email.
Okay. And lastly, I noticed that all the rooms have now wood finish kind of flooring, especially the...
Yeah, it's a luxury vinyl. It looks like wood, but it's not wood.
Yeah, what I meant was it's not carpet.
It's not carpet.
Right.
The carpeting that, if you saw on the presentation, the new billiard room has carpeting. That floor is carpeted.
Okay.
And also, the flooring in the ballroom was not replaced with new flooring. That flooring, the wood flooring, was refinished. That was a part of the scope. And then new carpet around the fireplace area for seating and gathering.
That is excellent, because that is real wood and should not be replaced. And I think what you guys did was correct to refinish it. But my main fear is that the room 1 and room 2, conference room 1, conference room 2, had carpets. And now that it has wood style, whatever you call it, vinyl flooring, even when it had carpet, it used to be very jarring. There was no soundproofing enough for if like 10 people were meeting, it would be really hard to bear that. Will that new soundproofing be there?
So we did put acoustic panels on the wall.
On the wall?
To buffer, yeah, to help with the sound.
Oh.
If that turns out not to be adequate, I'm sure we can take a look at either adding more of that type of sound attenuation.
Because particularly the coffee room, room 1, room 2, is there a room 3? I'm not sure. But they were really hard to sit in if there were more than 15 people.
So we put acoustic panels on all of those rooms that you just mentioned. The drop-in lounge had a tile floor, and now it's the new luxury vinyl floor. So both are hard surfaces. There was no change really in that room.
Okay. We'll see. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Again, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand. You don't have a question?
On my end.
Okay, Joan?
I agree with Kush. Acoustics are going to be a real problem if the surfaces are too hard. So do you have a way of testing that, like with a clap? Or, can we hear each other in the same room? If you get too many people in a room and they're talking at once, the room is impossible to hear even across the table. And we ran into that in Clubhouse 2, as you may remember, and we had to redo the acoustics. So I'm hoping that in the punch list, maybe there's a way to test.
So I think there was consideration given at the very onset when the directors were looking at each of the rooms and basically given us how they wanted the rooms laid out and set up. And one of the discussions was carpet versus a solid surface floor, and the solid surface floor won out. So that's what we have. Obviously, carpeting is better when it comes to the sound for the acoustical purposes, but that's not what was chosen, and that's not what we put in. So the way to mitigate the sound really is to put, so what we're trying to do, and I'm sure there's consultants that can come out and tell you exactly where to hang, one of these buffers, these baffles, to help with that sound as it travels through the room. But we've provided what we were asked to provide. If more is needed, we'll address it.
Questions on this slide? None? Okay, thank you very much, Guy.
Okay, thank you, I
We all
appreciate
look
it.
forward to seeing it. I thought I saw some reaction over there from our secretaries. Don't we have a board tour already planned?
It's the Friday or next Friday?
Next Friday.
Friday.
Yes.
What time?
Okay, Friday the 13th. That sounds good.
That's going to be, let's see, Friday the 13th at 10 a.m.
Okay, thank you. All right, B is a space planning update. Is Jim on the Zoom? He's not, so there's a problem. Yvonne, your co-chair, do you have any update?
None.
Okay. Do we have any from staff? Okay, we'll go on to the next. Update on registrar of voters, the pop-up location. Allison?
Good morning, everybody. So since we last discussed the drop-in vote centers, the county has moved forward and they have actually booked a lot of the vote centers outside of the village. They do want to move forward with one date on Saturday, November 2nd, over at the Performing Arts Center. So this would be secure behind the gates, and they would advertise it as a private community so that outsiders would not be able to come in. The vote center would be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. County staff would be on site from 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And we do have a show at the Performing Arts Center that night, but they would, they offered to adjust their hours to be out of there by 6:30, which is when the majority of people are starting to come into the Performing Arts Center. So we don't see a conflict there. They want to have it in the parking lot, use one row of parking. And it's a full, like I said, they bring a trailer, they have canopies set up, and it's a full drop-in vote center. There may be some additional staffing needed that day in the morning to open the building for bathroom access, but we do have staffing already there from 11 a.m. on to support the show. So that is the update. Please let me know if you have any questions.
I appreciate that. Any questions for Allison? While you're up there, Allison, can you give a further report on recreation moving into Clubhouse 1?
Yes,
Do you have any dates or
absolutely.
thoughts?
So we are still moving forward with that September 16th soft opening date. We're more confident now with the punch list items happening that we can get our stuff back in place. As you know, we ordered a lot of new tables from a capital reserve project, so we have to get rid of all the old ones. There's a lot of moving and shaking we got to do, but we're confident we can make that September 16th date. We will start to notify the users and also notify them that, as with any project, there may be ongoing efforts to things that maybe aren't working as they should, and just let them know that it might not be, we hope for smooth sailing, but things always come up with groups and moving back into the space. There may be a delay transitioning into the billiards room. So as you know, we have the Village Games coming up, and there is a billiards tournament. And the Billiards Club requested that we keep the tables in place at the PAC for that date of October 11th when the Village Games happens. And then we will start to transition the tables after that. It'll be about a 2-week process because they do have to deconstruct the tables, move them to the new site, and then rebuild them. During that time, we may also look to try and order 2 new tables. As you saw in the pictures, there are a few set up in the room already, so we may be able to allow some drop-in users to use that until we transition the tables over, but we'll play that by ear. Also, staff is in the process of working with purchasing to order new furniture. We're not sure that all the furniture is going to arrive before we open the doors on September 16th. So there may be some days that we have to transition some of that furniture out, but we are confident that we will have it soon. We have kept all the old items, so nobody will be without a chair. It just may not look as fresh and new. And we had hoped to open the pool and the mini gym and the fitness center a little bit earlier than the 16th. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. We do plan on opening those on the 16th as well. So, but our lifeguard managers have been made aware that we are aiming for that 16th to open the pool. And I know all those pool users will be very happy to get that back.
Very good. I have one question.
Yes.
That has come to me. The new furniture that we are ordering.
Yes.
What happens to the old furniture?
So we'll work with our warehouse to either surplus, send it to auction. A lot of the tables, a lot of the equipment is not salvageable. So we will be requesting to dispose all of our tables that we're replacing. But anything that is salvageable, we'll look and see if anyone else in the village has a need for it, or we will send it to the warehouse for auction.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions for Allison? We look forward to next month.
Yes, we are looking forward to it as well.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to D. Entertain a motion to approve the pricing rates for electric charging stations. This is official notification, so it will go on 28-day. And would you read that for us, please?
Yes.
Madam Secretary?
Resolution 90-24-XX, pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations. Whereas the GRF Board recognizes the need to amend the pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations as necessary. And whereas the establishment of these rates are impacted by the electric rates adopted by Southern California Edison. Now, therefore, be it resolved September 3rd, 2024, that the Board hereby approves the following pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations effective upon adoption of this resolution. Under Level 2, The GRF fleet vehicles, 0. Laguna Woods members and employees per kilowatt hour, 31 cents. Other users per kilowatt hour, 45 cents. Parking rates, $2 after 4 hours. For level 3 chargers, GRF fleet vehicles, 0. Laguna Woods members and employees per kilowatt hour, 31 cents. Other users per kilowatt hour, 65 cents. Parking rates, $2 per hour after 1 hour. Resolved further that future revisions to the pricing rates for electric vehicle charging stations be based on the percent change adopted by SAE effective June 1st of the particular year and implemented by the Finance Department with an update to the Finance Committee and GRF Board after the adoption of the new rates. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written. I move that we adopt this resolution for discussion purposes only, but postpone our final vote per Civil Code 4360.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, any questions, debate? Steve?
So we're voting on this to put it out for 28 days, right?
Excuse me?
We're putting this out for 28 days.
Correct.
Okay, so I have one concern, which I apologize, I did not notice earlier. And that has to do with the parking rates on level 3 charging. The reason for having a parking rate is to discourage people from leaving their cars in the parking spaces when they are no longer charging. And if you look at the $2 per hour for the level 2 chargers, that makes math sense, because if you're charging 30 or 40 cents per kilowatt hour consumed, you're basically charging about 6 kilowatt hours per hour of charging. So if you take the kilowatt hour amount times the number of kilowatt hours you're consuming, that comes out to about $2 an hour. The level 3 chargers, and I apologize for not seeing this earlier. The level 3 chargers put out 50 kilowatts hours. So they're like 8 times the amount of charging that goes out. So in my mind, the correct amount for that parking rate should be substantially more. It should be someplace on the order of about $30. Should be about $30. 30. If you take the 50 kilowatt hours consumed in a 1 hour period and at 60 cents, you'd be at $30. So I'd like to recommend that as an amendment to this. I don't want to see this get killed here today because of my amending it. But again, I've sorted it through, and the reason for the parking rate charge is to discourage people from leaving vehicles there. Our level 3 chargers, we only have 3. And I don't think we've had that much of a problem in the past with this being a consideration. But I thought as long as we were going through this exercise today in making the rate change, that it might be the time to increase that parking rate on the level 3 chargers.
Okay, so you would like to amend that $2 an hour after 1 hour to $30 an hour?
Yes.
30, okay.
30, okay.
There's a second.
We make that a motion?
I make that motion for 2.
Is there a second to that motion?
No second?
Sorry.
Wow.
No second. Motion dies. I do have a question on that I had wanted to ask, and perhaps Don't leave, Eric. It's for you. Oh, where was he? There he is. How are we going to enforce the parking rates? How do we know when they've been there too long? Has
Can
it
I
been
answer
2
that for
hours?
you?
Has it been 4 hours? Whatever. Okay, I didn't know if it was security or maintenance.
Charge point collection.
So it does not need any policing or enforcement. Charge point will charge the whatever rate is approved automatically to the person that is charging.
That's correct.
So say, for example, a person stays there for 2 hours using the level 3 charger. That person will be charged the amount of electricity that has been dispensed, plus an extra $30 if that is the approved rate, or any other rate that is approved for parking during that 1 hour. So they'll be charged the extra $2 if that person stays there for the full hour after the first hour. Then it'll be an additional $2 that gets charged.
I don't see how ChargePoint can figure that out. If I'm up there and I charge my car and I turn it off, but I still stay parking there, ChargePoint's not going to know.
As long as it stays plugged in,
Yeah.
they keep track
But
of
if they
it.
unplug it and just park there,
Then that will become an enforcement.
that's why I asked
Correct.
Eric if we have a way that we can monitor that.
I'm not sure if that's the same issue that Director Leonard was talking about, but the enforcement of the parking issue comes at generally by complaint through us. And then somebody would report a vehicle that's been parked there, and then we would go there and mark it, monitor it, and if it wasn't plugged in, as you say, and was just sitting there, and we would try to locate whoever is the registered owner, if they're a member here, to have them remove their vehicle from there, or issue them a warning on their car telling them they can't be there. And then we would monitor it for that time period that they're there. If there was something in place that told us that they were, for every hour that they're parked there, in addition to the hours that they're allowed to be there, then we would monitor that for the amount of time that they were there, and then cite them or write them like we do. We issue a letter saying that they were parked there from X amount of, whatever the time is, until the time they return.
Marked.
And that would be however many hours that is, times whatever the fee would be for them to be parked there, whether they're using electricity or not, or charging their vehicle or not. But that's a totally different situation.
But it is going to take a complaint from a resident or,
I mean, I don't know
Whatever.
how we would know that
Yeah.
people would be parked there unless we would have to have people monitoring the actual parking, the various chargers, and then marking them, because there would be, some people would be there actually charging. We've had complaints out here about vehicles being on the charger for too long, and we come out there and the vehicles are still charging. And some of those are actually people that are within the building. And what we find is a lot of those folks will put it on the charger, but they know how long it takes, and they come out. And sometimes they come out 5 minutes after it's finished. So the person says, this car's been here for X amount of time. You know, it's been sitting here, and it's already charged. And we'll be going to that location, and the owners of the vehicles will come out right about the same time. They said, I was coming out to move it. So it's a lot of times within 5 minutes after we get the report that they've been, that the car is no longer actually being charged.
I just see this particularly if we raise the rate for parking after it's there as an issue that might come up of how do you know?
That's the way you know it also would be the way we would do it with, like, if you have a time limitation on parking, you mark the vehicle from the time that the officer would get there, and you monitor that until the time that they would not. So if you had a limit of 72 hours for parking, we couldn't do it based on somebody saying that car's been there for 4 hours, because we actually have to mark it so that we know. From the point that we got there, this is when it started, the clock started then. And then when we see them move out or they move out of the vehicle, then we'd have to have somebody assigned to sit there and watch that vehicle
We
until
don't
it
have
moved.
staff for that.
You know, so that we could guarantee that, or we'd have to look at cameras, if there are cameras there, to figure out when they actually left.
Okay. Well, I think in security, we need to look at that because I think it could become an issue. And I think that whether we're going to do cameras, we don't have staff that's going to be able to monitor that on a regular basis. So, Steve?
In order to charge on the charge point chargers, you have to have a charge point account. I plug in my car, I hit it with a fob. When the car is fully charged, I get a text message from ChargePoint. Your car is charged, go move your car. If I don't move my car, ChargePoint charges me the parking rate. Who
And
gets?
if you unplug it?
No. It's a completely intelligent system. It knows when it's no longer delivering electricity to the car, when the car is full.
But if you unplug it, it doesn't know
Hold on,
that
well,
you
hold on,
are
wait,
still sitting there.
Well, hold on. You have a couple of parts to this. So the first part is, you're a customer, you know your car is charged, you should go move it. If you don't move it and it stays plugged in, they know you're still plugged in, you get charged the parking rate. At $2 an hour for the level 2, if we're charging people 34 cents, outsiders or whatever the amount of money is, 40 cents now, right? That space is locked up. We can't earn any income on it because it's not selling electricity. That's over. That's the purpose for the parking rate. So at a $2 per hour on the level 2, you're recouping the revenue that you would have lost had the space been opened back up for another customer to use. It's a way for you to recapture lost revenue. On the level 3 chargers, my reasoning for the $30 is exactly the same thing. If somebody is parked in the level 3 and they're fully charged and they don't move it, the penalty is $2 an hour. The loss of income to us may be $30 gross per hour, number one. Number two, as far as people unplugging and staying parked there, I don't think I've ever seen it in all the 3 or 4 years I've been here. The real issue is we don't tow. If you have electric vehicles, if you have vehicles who are not electric vehicles who park in those EV spaces, they should be towed. We don't tow. In order to tow, we would have to follow state regulations that say that we have to have signs which identifies that they can be towed, the name of the code, the number of the California code, also the name of the tow company, its phone number. And we've never had that. We really haven't had a problem with it. We really have not had a problem with people being parked out
I'm
there too long.
anticipating problems that aren't there. I apologize. Egon?
Bart, can you tell us how often the parking fee is implemented? I mean, if it's an intelligent system, it should be able to tell us that. We may be discussing a problem that doesn't exist.
I have to apologize for that. I do not have that data with me, but we do get a report of how much is charged, whether it is energy being dispensed or parking, or a combination of both. I can bring that to you. I can forward that to you at a later time.
But just off the top of your head, do you know that we're getting a lot of parking fees paid?
Not a lot, no.
I agree with Steve. We might be losing revenue if somebody's waiting in line. It's just chances are that we're kind of we don't have that big a problem, but we should find out how big a problem we have.
Okay, well, Perhaps we can get that before the 28 days is up, before our,
Yes, I can do that.
okay, Yvonne? Oh, I'm sorry, I was just going down the line. Bill?
I mean, the issue that you raised about somebody parked there but not plugged in is not a what do we charge for charging question. It's what do we do with people who are illegally parked anywhere in Laguna Woods Village? And, I mean, I think it's a different question. Because the issue of you know, you're plugged in, you charged up, you're off busy doing something else, you get your text says that you've got to pick up your car, and you say, I'm not going to go pick up the car, and it charges a certain amount. That's one thing. But the parked and not charging, parked and not plugged in, it seems to me is just a parking enforcement issue. And if we don't have tow capability, we should have it, but not necessarily just for that. I mean, if somebody's illegally parked,
We do.
tow them away. But, so, I mean, I don't think that's a how much do we charge for charging question. It is a what do we do about parking
Okay.
failures.
All right. I refer you to 12D, our revised traffic rules and regulations, where we will go over abandoned cars and towing and parking. So we can talk about it then. Thank you, Bart.
Madam Chair.
Just quickly, in response to Director Leonard, I do believe that this community center parking, and we do have certain areas, and they have a concern. The security company and the property management company for the whole area have made sure that this area has a 22-inch sign, white sign with 1-inch black lettering, indicating the 22658A of the California Vehicle Code, which says they can have a private party impound to tow the vehicle. It has the information in the Orange County Sheriff's Department, who is the Sheriff's Department of Jurisdiction, law enforcement department of jurisdiction, and the phone number and all of that at the entrance of the property. We have never towed anybody out of the parking area for the electrical charging vehicles, only because there's some discussion, as far as I know, and I'll run this and check this out, but concern of whether who's actually owns this property. Because if it's property that we own and it's actually Laguna Woods Village property versus the property management company that owns the parking lot, then we can do something about it. Like if it was in on one of our clubhouses or something like that. But we do have governing docs that actually require us to go through a process for members before towing their cars, which is a lot more of a process and in time, as well as versus, say, a guest or somebody that's just a vendor on our property, where we can have more of an immediate towing situation, or the Sheriff's Department can tow vehicles out of here because of accidents and such. But I don't have any recollection in the last 2.5 years of us ever towing a vehicle out of one of the charging areas as a result of being there.
I think this is a question that needs to be answered. I don't know, and I've been around for a long time. We own this building, but how much of the parking, if any, do you know, Siobhan, is ours that goes with the building?
I don't, but I was going to ask Bart if he has that information, since we did install the chargers at that location.
That was before Bart's time.
Yeah, so you are correct. GRF owns this building, but the parking is shared with the other tenants in the area. So we do not have ownership or title for
any
the
parking?
For any parking, no.
Okay, that answers that. Kush?
So, Steve, I agree with what you said, that we should have some higher parking fees, but $30 was a little sticker shock for me, but in any case, is it being charged at other locations at such a higher rate?
I don't know, but if I had a charging station that I owned,
Oh,
and I could collect $30 an hour in fees, and somebody was parked dead, and I couldn't make my $30, I'd be charging $30 an hour for parking
no,
fees.
but it's just a kind of a comparison that does the neighboring parking charging stations that we have around,
I couldn't tell you. You've got
So-
Tesla, you've got EA of America, you've got different things, and you could have staff do a report.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say is that if the neighboring charging places do have such high parking fees, then we might be justified to even consider a higher parking amount. I was ready to support it, but $30 was a pretty high amount. A change from $2 to $30 would be like people pointing fingers at us, say, "Are you out of your mind?" type of thing.
I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with you again, because if you can sell 50 kilowatt hours worth of electricity in 1 hour, okay, and you can't sell it, and you're charging 61 cents or whatever the new number is for outside people, just multiply 50 times the price per kilowatt, and that should be the parking fee.
You're right principally, and I agree mathematically, you must be absolutely right, but I may not be able to justify that kind of a charge to stand up for. So if you said change it from 2 to 5, I might be able to support it right away. But right now, I don't think so.
Well, we do have attachment 3 with the charging rates at different places, but under the notes, that's not, well, it is the hour. $3.96 for 2 hours. And I'm not sure under ours, 50 kW, what does that mean? Donna?
Yeah, we've just voted, and rightly so, to increase the rates, and they are up there with the rest of the competition, if you will. And so now, if we were to charge, and we did that because of the potential for income of outside people charging their cars here. However, if leaving it, which most people don't, it doesn't seem to have been a problem, it's more a potential problem than an actual one. But if we put a figure on, if you leave your car so far beyond what other places charge, because they are not anywhere near $30, we have the potential to lose the income that we would get for having the charging thing. We aren't the only show in town. And so if we're looking at it as a source of revenue, then we have to be competitive, and that's not, $30 as a penalty might sound good, but we might lose more in charging fees, because I understand most of the charging is done by outside people. So it's a good, great potential source, but not if we scare them away.
If I may raise, a point of order, the proposed amendment failed, so there's no reason for us to be talking about it.
Egon, you had a comment?
I just got a comment, Steve. Not the whole 61 cents isn't profit. It's only the part that's left over when PG&E takes their cut. SCE takes their cut. So that calculation would be different for the amount that we lose.
Okay, I think Bill had an excellent point. The amendment fails, so we right now are voting on the motion to send this to 28 days. Oh, I'm sorry. Dick, you had a comment?
I think a point was well taken. However, there's another point that has not been raised, and it's something that I think both of them, I'll talk about what I'm thinking about in just a second, both of them should be tabled and taken up in the security meeting. The thing that has not been mentioned is there's going to be more and more people acquiring electric vehicles. And so if somebody occupies a space for several hours and their vehicle has already been charged, that means that another person can't charge their car. So it's called availability and convenience of the sites for charging your car. And that's what you have to keep track of. You have to keep track of whether some people, when we have a lot of electric cars, and they're occupying the space when somebody needs to charge their car and they've already charged theirs. So you got to keep track of how many electric vehicles we have and how availability of the EV stations, and that's something you have to keep track of for the future.
Okay, I think we do. I think we just need to get that information from ChargePoint. So, yes, Steve?
We used to get monthly reports from ChargePoint. They were very detailed. They told us how many cars were parked over the time allowed, how much revenue was collected every day of every month. ChargePoint stopped producing those written reports for us years ago. The data is only available for download to staff, and staff does not keep track of this information. The reports that staff does make are summary data, and nobody is looking at the details. I've asked.
I think the thing that comes out of this meeting, Bart, is we would like to see from the ChargePoint reports how many people are going over and being charged the extra hour fee and what that is. Then when it comes back to us in October, we'll have that information, and it's not just.
We used to see it every month.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sue, you had a comment?
Yes, I just wondered if this is something that the committee, the board wants to consider. Could they send it back to committee to look into this? I mean, it seems to me that if you're going to jump pricing, there should be a sign that says how much it's charged per hour, and after a certain amount, the charge that goes associated with it. Because I know people park and they run in and maybe they attend a meeting and it goes longer. Or they just flat forget. Certainly, there maybe should be a penalty, but at what point? It just seems like you're trying to make policy.
There's a lot of what ifs. And I
Yeah,
think what we're
yeah.
trying to do in the 28 days is to get more specific information so we can make that decision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I would like
Call the question?
to call the question. All those in favor of 14D? Are we voting on screen or with hands?
With hands, if we could
Okay,
today. Thank you.
please raise your hand. If you are in favor.
The 28 days.
Right. This is moving it to 28 days. All right, thank you, it's unanimous. All righty, now we come to E, which is something that Egon has put on. Egon, would you like to explain what it is? And I think Allison is still here and can help us.
Yeah, so many people of a particular club, several hundred, got emails saying that they could buy tickets at a certain time or pre-order some tickets or buy them starting September 7th for December 7th performance at the PAC. And then apparently the club was told, no, you can't sell tickets because the PAC will be closed. And so we'd like to get an update of the actual status of what's going on and the probability that it will or will not be closed. Thanks.
Thank you, Allison.
Yes, thank you. Hello again. Yes, as you're probably aware, we have a highly anticipated capital reserve project to replace the sound system at the Performing Arts Center. And it's looking hopeful that that is going to be accomplished in December and January. All of the people that wanted to book in December, all of the clubs were told up front that that month was very possible that we would be doing this project during December, so we did not officially approve any requests. We only penciled them in, and we told them that if the project wasn't going to happen, then we would let them know. We did meet last week with projects, and it looks like although the timeline is going to be tight, we think we can make that project timeline of December and January, possibly early February. As far as the group on December 7th, they should not have notified their users because they didn't have official use, but it is looking like we might be able to accommodate that group, maybe no other groups after that. So we will be in touch with them this week to let them know that we are fairly confident they can proceed with their event. But they were never given official approval in December or anything in January because it's very difficult with the Performing Arts Center because it's so busy and groups need such advance notice for their groups that we had to hold some time aside. And we're trying very hard to get the project done during that time so that we can move forward and have the sound system the rest of the year.
Okay, thank you, because we need that sound system.
Yes.
Egon?
Yeah, well, the question I got is it's highly anticipated. I don't recall at any meeting that I've been to where it's been discussed in any measure of detail at all. All I remember is that we approved a $600,000 placeholder, and then I asked to discuss the thing some more, and we were told, no, well, we'll discuss that when it comes up for a presentation. So far, it hasn't come up for presentation. And I think given the speed at which we normally work, December sounds like just about as good as the people that are up in that space capsule waiting to come back to Earth. It's not happening tomorrow, so I don't know. But
Well, Guy West is here, and he can talk a little bit more about what we hope to achieve through the governance and city approval process.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. So to try to answer that question, we have been working on this sound system project for quite some time. It's taken a lot of staff time because we're not familiar with sound systems. That's not something that we do on a regular basis. So we had to take a period to educate ourselves on how that would transpire. We did put together an RFP with the scope of work. That was a collaboration between the projects division as well as recreation, the technicians that actually operate those systems. They're more familiar with them. We put that scope of work together. We put an RFP out to several companies that specialize in installing sound systems in theaters and facilities like Clubhouse 3. Right now, we do have a viable bidder that is within the budget that was allotted for this project, and we are going to bring that to M&C committee. We've met with the chair and asked if we can have a special meeting to expedite the process, and then we hope to bring it to the October 1st board in closed session, and we're going to recommend a contract be awarded. Once that is voted on and official, we can then let the contractor loose. It's a design build. They will then put together the drawings, take them to the city, have them approved. But we've laid out the timeline, so if October 1st it's approved by the board and we can award a contract, then we can actually start physically installing the system the 1st of December. In that time period before, the drawings will be developed and sent to the city for approval. But we see that timeline working.
Okay. I think
I have a question.
Egon's thing is we just have not brought it to M&C yet,
Madam Chair?
except as a capital project. Yes, Kush?
So, considering that you've done all this homework, once you start work on December, whatever, 1, 7, 8, whatever, your estimated timeline to start and finish would be how many weeks?
So we're looking at 2 months.
2 months.
We're looking at, yes, both December, because there's holidays in December, obviously,
Sure.
and people take that time off. So, we're looking at a 6 to 8 week project, more likely 6. We don't anticipate any complications. It's a pretty straightforward process.
Okay.
But to have that, what we would lag time, however you want to present it, float in the schedule. It's prudent to make sure you have some float in your schedule.
Of course. And the equipment will be ordered and kept ready to install.
That's correct. So there is a lead time for some of the equipment. So that's why that October 1st time frame works, because we have all of October and all of November, essentially 8 weeks, let's say, to not only prepare the plans for permit, but also they'll order immediately that equipment so that it will be here for the December 1st start.
Okay. All right. Good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Egon?
So, Guy, is there any potential, since we're replacing one system with another, is there any potential for putting the system in while the old one is still in place? I mean,
No.
realistically, the only thing I can see is the control board in the room. And
No, it doesn't work that way.
well,
Because this is a rack
I can
system.
see. I can see. Please,
Yeah.
I worked in electronics for a long time. I can see in my house or something that I could replace, put a new system in, and continue to use the old one until I'm ready to switch over. And I don't see. I'm just asking you what the potential for that is.
So
because typically December has had a lot of stuff in the pack, plus the New Year's Eve thing and all that stuff. So go on.
No, so the contractors that we spoke to, because that was one of the thought processes that we had and we brought to their attention, could this be done while in operation, piece by piece or however? And none of them were really willing to go that route. They all insist that you give them the time frame to do it. There's a lot of cabling that needs to be rerouted and things of that nature, and they want to have access to the facility in order to do that work.
Okay.
There's also some structural elements that are going to be upgraded to hold the new speakers. There's an array of speakers in the front. So there are some items there that do need the facility to be closed.
Okay, Steve?
Guy, did I hear you correctly in that you said that you put it out for RFP and you got one bid back?
No,
Oh.
we received 2 bids. I believe we went out to 6 of these specialized, and we'll present that when we present in closed session and what those bids are.
I just want to mention that this came up about 5 years ago when they were going to redo PAC and the original remodel, and we talked about the sound system. And I had arranged for a front-of-house sound professional. Front of house is somebody who runs all the sound for concerts, who does this for a living, and tried to get them to come out as a consultant. And we moved to a certain point, but the board never authorized the contract for $1,500 to have the individual come down here and take a look and write it up. So that's, I imagine, why staff has been so burdened with all of this, because they didn't know who to talk to, and you just can't talk to the contractors because the contractors want to sell you stuff.
We've been picking away at the PAC for many years. We decided not to do it as one big project, and we've been doing phases here and there. So this hopefully is almost the last of the upgrades and things we're going to do at the PAC, is it not?
Yeah, so the equipment that's in spec is not the top of the line equipment. It's appropriate for this facility. And we have evidence that it's been installed in other facilities that are like the facility that we're installing this. And you really need to think the system is like replacing an incandescent light bulb with an LED light bulb. The equipment that's there is old. It is antiquated to some senses. It could be considered that. So by this upgrade, it will be the newer type of equipment, more efficient, better sound quality, all of those things. Again, I'm not an expert, but we did reach out and we spoke to several, and not just contractors, but designers as well. just when we were doing our investigation. And that's why it took the time period that it took, is because we needed to feel comfortable that we weren't being sold a bill of goods, right? So we vetted that. We looked at it as best as we could, and this is where we're at. We want to make this timeline that's been set aside, and we're moving rapidly to try to make it happen.
Okay, thank you very much, and we will put this on our future agenda items and look for an update.
So if all goes well, we'll bring it to closed session October 1st.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Egon has his hand up.
Yes, Egon.
Just a matter of procedure. Shouldn't we have one open meeting, one open session to address this large project to the community before we go to the closed session, even if we do it on the same day?
Well, I think that's something that MNC needs to look at. I'm going to say that we go back to the MNC committee, and if they want to have an open meeting regarding it before we get contracts to look at in closed meeting, then we will. But I think we've done enough for today. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Guy. All right, let's move on to new business. And the first one is to entertain a motion to approve the golf fee recommendations. This is the initial notification. It'll go on 28-day notification for member review and come before the board in October for a final vote. Would you read that resolution, please?
Resolution 90-24-XX, golf shared cost percentage, 35% to 65%, member shared to facility use fee. So member shared is 35%, facility use fee is 65%. Whereas the golf fees administered by the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods Board of Directors adhere to the shared cost guidelines established in Resolution 90-12-132, whereby certain fees can be imposed upon users of various recreation facilities in order to control crowding and minimize overusage and to recover operating costs. And whereas at the July 29, 2004 Finance Committee meeting, the committee endorsed staff's recommendation to establish a shared cost percentage of 35%, covering total expense for golf maintenance and operations, including depreciation, leaving the remaining 65% of total costs to be recovered through golf facility use fees. And whereas at the August 8, 2024 Community Activities Committee meeting, the committee affirmed the Finance Committee's recommendation to establish a golf shared cost of 35% to 65%. Now, therefore, be it resolved October 1st, 2024, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the establishment of a shared cost percentage of 35%, leaving the remaining 65% of total costs to be recovered through golf facility use fees. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move that we approve this resolution for discussion purposes only and postpone the final vote per Civil Code 4360. Yvonne, seconds.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion. Let's start over there. Steve?
I just want to make sure that I understand we're voting on agenda item 12A, and this resolution is page 9 of 14. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yvonne?
Yeah, and I'd like to amend this.
Okay.
And I would like to increase the guest fees to another $10. Because that will put another $80,000 into our coffers.
That's a different resolution?
Is that $10 across the board? Just, or, I
No,
mean,
at the Big Horse.
for guests, for just
Yes,
the
guest fees.
here, but weekdays and weekends?
Yes.
Steve?
We have two resolutions on golf. We're only voting on the 65-35 right now.
That's correct.
We are not voting on fees. That's the next agenda item.
Well, that'd be 30. it'd be-
No, this, yeah, right.
If I may,
The
correct.
fees is the next one.
steep.
Correct. The
fees is-
specific
this is
fees will
not
be the next
fees.
resolution.
Next
Oh,
res-
okay.
Right.
Well, then I withdraw my,
The
you.
attachment seems to be in the wrong
Okay.
place.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, I'll call the question.
none.
Vote to move this 28-day.
Wait, you've got a couple comments.
Yes, there are a few residents requesting to speak for this item.
Okay, all right.
First resident is Yong Pak.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Young Park. I am since 2012 in resident. I'm the currently Korean Golf Association president, so I have to say a few words. I know you had a lot of work for final results, but according to the Laguna Woods Golf, it's at least 70% Koreans. So I have to say something, and I need to know some little bit more detail. I'm going to show you this magazine. This every 3 to 4 years we publish it. How wonderful in Laguna Woods, and we several people and enjoy and happy and proud to be resident of Laguna Woods. I call this book title Paradise. My transaction is different, below heaven. That much I'm proud to be at this Laguna Woods life. Typically, personally, I love golf. So, one of the board member, I'm sure it's United, Mr. I like to share with it, but this is all Korean, so you may not read it. My point is every year or every other year, it's kind of really nervous about the increase. Sure, everything is higher, everything going up. So nothing we can do about it, but we are, and we are limited fund. So enjoy the rest of our life.
I'll give you a story about that.
But every year, with hearing about A and B and C, and higher and higher, and can we checking on the Social Security, limited funds? Well, whatever you decide, one way or other, is a quit, follow. My background is a physical education, human performing, and my 40 years as my Iowa State, we don't increase them much every year, every other year. So today, I'm looking for, you consider, this is all your senior citizen, minimum 55, most of them over 70. They have no any other revenue is. So you have a chance to consider, and you decided, I guess, we're going to follow, whether, good or bad, unless if I don't like it, move out of this place.
Thank you, Mr. Park.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Ron Allen.
I like that. Yeah, even I live here, probably nobody lives. So I like to go to the. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm Ron Allen. I've been here 13 years, member of the golf club. And then we're discussing fees today. I think You have something in front of you to approve. I just wanted to go over my thoughts on that. My feeling is that we all benefit from the golf course and the pool and the rec rooms and all the facilities here. So in a shared concept, you know, if prices go up on the pool, prices go up on the bowling greens, or if something go up in the tennis courts, we all share in that. So I'd like to see that happen in the golf course and not just keep hitting the golf guys for extra money. That's my feeling. I feel like if we go to what one of the estimates were, it'd cost me an extra $600 a year to play golf here. And that's extra over what I'm paying now. So that's a big deal for me. Some of the guys can afford more, I can't. Okay, and a lot of us can't. So I'd really like you to kind of put the extra fees that might be included in this into a shared cost for everybody. With the 12,000, 13,000 units, you know, $1 or $2 isn't going to make a big difference to them, but it gets the extra money that you need if there's a price increase, you know, in the cost of maintaining our golf course. You know, we got a lot of good guys here. We put a lot of money in the foundation. You know, there's some great guys that love this community, and we feel that that golf course is one of the best draw we have for each one of us. So everybody in this community, everybody in the village benefits from this golf course. So we all should benefit from, we should all pay our fair share if the costs go up. That's my feeling. I noticed that if the prices do go up, they don't go up for the pool, people that enjoy the swimming pools or the tennis courts or the pickleball course or all the other things that we do here. So it just seems to hit heavy on the golfers, and I don't find that to be real fair. I feel that sort of sticks in my craw a little bit. But you know what? We all have a business to do, and you guys are doing your job. I just thought I'd put my 2 cents in.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Sue Stevens.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I think it's important to know what happened in committee on this item. We discussed it in the Finance Committee, and the reason for staff recommending that the fee for members be increased by $1 higher than what you're seeing in this proposal, or what you will see in the proposal, is because over many years we have been collecting a lot less than the 65%. In fact, we collected as low as 44%. And so what I'd really like is for Steve Hormuth to let you know why we were actually recommending a higher fee than what is being presented to you.
Steve?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Madam Chair,
Yes.
we're not on this agenda item. That's going to be the next agenda item. We're on the 65-35 split. We're not on the fees.
Okay.
So I'll discuss whatever the board is interested, but this proposal does come with 2 recommendations, right? So the first recommendation is the 35-65 split, and then the second recommendation is kind of a 2-part, right? The second one is the fee increases of how we would implement that 65% threshold. Happy to walk everyone through the presentation as it stands, or I'm happy to grab a seat and let the other members speak at the discretion of the chair.
Okay. Any particular desires from the board? Why don't we let everybody else speak, and then if we have more questions, we'll call you back up. Sure.
Thank you. And then final speaker is Dennis Boudreau.
There's my guy.
Good morning, Dennis Boudreau, 2073A. I'm not sure I'm on the right agenda item here, because I thought the 12A had to do with the golf fees. I didn't see that it had anything to do with the shared cost. This being a shared cost community, sure, fees can be charged for various things that need to be charged for. However, it's supposed to be fair and equal for everybody. The golfing community represents about 3,600 people in the community out of 18,000 some. They contribute in fees today $1.5 million a year to the GRF. They're the second highest contributor of fees to GRF, next only to broadband. I think we're getting a little carried away here. That's a lot of money. And this is a minority of people in the community that are bearing this brunt. And I think we need to take a look at it a little bit better as far as shared cost. 65% is a whole lot of money. And I think you really need to look at that more seriously. Thank you.
Right there. Bill?
I don't know how far we're going to go down this path today, but the 65-35 split was an arrangement that was made with the golf community at some point. Steve has the exact dates of that. And so this doesn't come in a vacuum. It's not, we haven't just flipped a coin and decided that it should be 65-35. That was an involved process that came to that understanding. And so that what we finance-wise noticed is that there was drift away from what was a agreed-upon distribution. And so the purpose of the motion before us right now is to affirm that distribution. And then we'll have a discussion of what should the actual, how should those fees break down. But the first concept is to affirm the arrangement that was arrived at. I don't even remember when. Steve, do you have the date and time?
It was back in 1985 is when this golf study was created.
So that was the sort of first principle is let's get back to what the community agreed to, and then see about how that plays out in terms of actual fees.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have two things that we're going to be voting on. I'll call them A and B, and we'll start with A, and A is what Joan just read, which is the shared cost percentage of 35-65. And Yvonne, did you have a question?
But
comment?
if we change the schedule of the golf fees, doesn't that change the percentage rate also?
I may?
Please.
So once again, the first resolution is just to get the board approval to affirm a structure to move forward on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
Once the board, establishes a split, that will allow staff on a regular ongoing basis to come back with recommendations. The second recommendation that is being brought before you is the actual
fee schedule,
split, the pricing itself. And as part of that recommendation, it states that this allows it to temporarily exceed it to 67% within 2 years, assuming a natural 4% increase in costs. By 2026, you'll be back at 65%. And then ongoing from there, we'll continue to review those prices and come forward with recommendations.
I think it's important to note that Finance and GRF is trying very hard to have a schedule so that we know when fees are going to be increased. It's been on an ad hoc basis, if you will, for many years, since 1985, depending on who was on the board, depending on how many golfers we had. There was never any set increase or fee or time to look at it, as there were with all the other shared costs. So when we developed 2 years ago, the plan that said when we would review each of the different fees, whether it was room rental, golf fees, horse stables,
Equestrian,
whatever.
RV, all the above.
So that we know now that we do it on a regular basis, and this is the first one that came up after that. Egon?
Last year, we finally equalized room rate, which was good. How does the 65-35 compare to what all the other amenities or fees that we charge to other clubs compare?
Sure. There's a variety. So every year in the annual business plan, we provide those details, but it goes from, the gentleman mentioned before, the pools have 0 fees associated with it. There are various fees that are about 25% via fees. Then you have golf, which is proposed to be 65, and you have on the far end, you have RVs, which is 100% covered by fees. There is no equilibrium with regards to each individual amenity. It depends upon various factors such as usage, the ultimate cost of the facility, sometimes even market rates factor into that. But again, we have no goal of matching market rate, but at the same time, we're trying to make it appear reasonable and appropriate for the amenity.
Well, my personal opinion is that if we're going to support this, we ought to support, it ought to be the same percentage for everybody else. I don't really, you know, the garden fee, the whatever. Some of those would be very small, but it ought to be a fairness concept that we should, and if we can't, obviously we can't do that at this meeting because we only have one in front of us. But I think the board should commit that this will happen and will happen very quickly so that everybody's treated the same way. Thank you.
So this conversation has been brought up, and I'm not against that idea. But what the goal is to get through all the fees within a 3-year period. So this being 2023 was the first year. There's a lot of fees, and each of them take a significant amount of time. But once all the fees have been reviewed, all the costs, and the plan would be before you, and the board at that time can make a determination whether or not you wanted to equal out all the shared cost percentages. But if you were to do so, it would have a dramatic impact.
Yeah, if I may, though, I mean, the issue here is whether or not we're going to, I mean, the way this is worded makes it sound like we're adopting this for the first time. This is not an adoption for the first time. This is a reaffirmation of an arrangement that was arrived at, I think it was even at the behest of the golf community. Right. But it was a process whereby the golf community in the 1980s said, we want, to have a first-class facility, and we're willing to pay for it. And so it came to this 65-35 or 35-65 split as a result of all of that. So this is not, I mean, I think it would be inappropriate to say, okay, everything has to be 65-35 now. So the pools and the lawn bowling and the gate, the gates for the community. We have, our gate ambassadors. I mean, whatever. I mean, we could charge tolls for entering our facility, but I don't mean to be disparaging your concept, because I think the concept I embrace, but golf is special, and in this split was arrived at the behest of the golf community in the 1980s, and we have drifted, and so this is a reaffirmation by the board, is that this is what our target is, because that is what the golf community wants in terms of a quality of facility, and then we look at setting fees within that range. That's the basic concept. But it begins with a reaffirmation of that which was affirmed in the 1980s.
And I'd like to point out that the increase of the 35%, which is on the fee schedule, means there's also an increase in GRF's 65%, because the total cost went up and your cost wouldn't go up. If the total cost didn't go up and you had 35% of that, we still have 65% that everybody is paying. That's going to go up a little bit too. So the split means that each side is paying a little bit more. All right, I'd like to call for the question, and this is for the first one that Joan read, and that is to reaffirm, to use Bill's language, the 35-65 split for the golf shared cost. And it will go on 28-day notice, yes. All of those in favor of moving this forward? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and against? Egon?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain, okay. So.
Director Horton, what was your vote? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, am I correct, Michaela? What I got was 8 for, 0 against, and 1 abstain.
Yes.
Okay. All right, now we'll look at Part B, and that is the actual fee schedule. And if you will read the resolution, please.
Excuse me. Resolution 90-24-XX, whereas the golf fees, schedule of golf fees. Whereas the golf fees administered by the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods Board of Directors adhere to the shared cost guidelines established in Resolution 90-12-132, whereby certain fees can be imposed upon users of various recreation facilities in order to control crowding and minimize overusage and to recover operating costs. And whereas the board directed staff to perform an annual review of golf revenue earned through fees compared to expenses incurred in accordance with Resolution 90-23-46. Staff will then propose fee changes, increase or decrease, to ensure the shared costs stay consistent with a board-approved percentage. And whereas at the July 29, 2024 Finance Committee meeting, the committee endorsed a $1 per round increase to each of the member greens for 18 holes and 9 holes in the 27-hole course, and 18 holes and 9 holes at the par 3 course. The committee also endorsed increases for guest green fees, cart and club rentals, along with trail fees. And whereas at the August 8, 2024 Community Activities Committee meeting, the committee affirmed the Finance Committee endorsement of increased golf fees. Now therefore be it resolved October 1st, 2024, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts schedule of golf fees in Exhibit A below, effective January 1st, 2025.
I don't think you need to read all of the fees unless there's somebody that would like that done. We do have it here, and for all of our audience, it is online if you want to look at the fees. But basically, it's the dollar increase.
A dollar increase. All right.
Okay, resolve further.
Resolve further that Resolution 90-18-03, approved on January 2nd, 2018, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move that we approve this resolution for discussion purposes only and postpone a final vote per Civil Code 4360. Second? Yvonne seconds, okay.
Okay, all right. That's been moved and seconded. Steve, you have some discussion?
I've spent a lot of time on this. I'm not in favor of this resolution for the following reason. This recommendation is coming from the two committees, and although our agenda reads today that staff is making a recommendation to accept this, the original staff recommendation, when this went into the Finance Committee and also the other committee, the initial staff recommendation was as follows: to endorse option A. That was staff's recommendation. The committees were given 3 options, A, B, and C. C was no change. B is what we're looking at now with a minor $1 adjustment for the regular members' fees, I believe, in one category. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not staff's original recommendation. This is a second recommendation based on what the committees decided. And ultimately, I believe it is our responsibility as directors of GRF to represent the entire population of the community, nearly 18,000 people. So I just want to give you a couple of quick numbers, because you probably haven't gone into as much detail as I have. Since 2019 through 2023, the average shared cost was 52.4%. Over the course of those 4 years, $2.5 million was not collected had it been a 65-35 split. So for those 5 years, those who play golf have not paid the $2.5 million they would have paid had it been 65-35, which had already been affirmed, never implemented. That works out to $196 per manor. That means every one of us has paid $200 because the fees were at 52% on a shared cost basis. It's $16.36 per manor per month. Steve's smiling at me because he knows I do this. Under option A, as originally proposed, the net would have been $90 per manor per year as a cost, or $7.51 per manor per month. This modified option B, conversely, is going to be more on the order of, I'm going to speculate, 112, because it was 116 before the dollar adjustment, which is going to work out to be a little over $9 per manor per month. Given the fact that the golfers have had a $2.5 million advantage for the last 5 years, to accept a lesser option, in my opinion, is the wrong thing to do. So I'm not in favor of this. I'm in favor of passing option A, and I guess that's all I've got to say.
Okay. Any other comments?
You need to hear from Steve.
Steve?
I will say that the reason why a lot of these items come before the committee is that's where a lot of the opportunity comes to hear opinions from the community members, to hear opinions from the community itself. And speaking on behalf of staff, staff stands behind the recommendation that's before you as of right now. Yes, when it was originally brought before you on July 29th, there was a different number. But again, taking into consideration the feedback that we received, we stand behind this recommendation that's here now.
Egon?
So the only comment I want to make is that I agree with Steve to some extent, and it shows the complexity of this issue. And so to fix the rest of the village, 3 years is way too long. We need to get on our horse and treat everybody fairly sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Donna?
I just have one question, and that was the Finance Committee. We had many representatives from the golf community, and it seemed like everyone was quite comfortable with the $1. And so there's no question about that. I believe, and when we finished at the Finance Committee, and it had another step, which I wasn't present for since I'm not on that committee, we had asked that staff look into an appropriate recommendation for the guest fees. That was the one that was left without a number attached to it. So I'm not arguing with it or anything else. And now I see a number, and I see it for the first time. And so this number of the guest fees being raised $5 to $40 for 18 holes and the $10 on the weekend, is that something the staff is commensurate and comfortable with doing? That's my only, it's not an opposition, it's just a clarification because we had left it open for staff to guide us.
And thank you for that clarification. Yes, coming out of the finance meeting, I won't repeat what you just got done saying, but we are tasked with identifying an appropriate fee. We brought that recommendation before CAC, and CAC affirmed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yvonne, you had a comment?
Well, how many golf guests do we have a year, sir?
About 8,000.
Oh, 2,500?
8,000.
8,000. I thought that when we talked earlier that you said 2,500, something like that?
No,
Okay.
those numbers, I think the
I'm-
numbers we talked about were
Thank you.
residents versus non-residents.
So if we raise the fees for guests, an additional $10 for weekends and weekdays, how much money would that put in our coffers then?
So when you had presented, you'd asked me some questions in terms of raising the
Guest fees.
27 whole course, the big
Yes,
course.
only.
Both the guest fees for the weekends and the weekdays.
Mhm.
I believe you had requested an answer for if you were to raise it by $5 per course?
10.
10, thank you. That if we were to add that in, it would raise an additional $70,000 in revenue.
Okay. So I'm still want to make a motion to that effect. And the reason behind that is because if I go to any public course that's within 4 or 5 miles from here, it's going to cost me if you want to play between 7 and noon, it's going to cost me $120 to $140 a round. If you want to play at the private course that I belong to, it would cost you $250. So this is a bargain. However, the people that are residents that play here, not only they are paying to play golf, but they're also paying that addition in their dues too. So I'm looking for a second on raising the guest fees $10.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
The amendment, yes.
Now, does somebody have
All right, well, wait, is there any more discussion on the amendment? Yes, Donna?
It's already $10 for guests now to be raised, so are you talking about another 10 as $20? I just want to make sure we know what we're
Correct.
voting for. And you're saying that the weekday would be, instead of 35 to 40, it would be 35 to 50? I mean, I
thought it was going to be 45, but
well,
50 is-
that's why
50 works
that's
for
what I'm
me
trying
too.
to. Yeah, if it was $10 more than it has been, it would be 45. But
Yeah.
if it's $10 more than the new recommendation, then it's 50. That's why I'm just trying to
Yeah, okay.
clarify which number are we
50
dealing
is
with.
fine with me. I don't care.
Is it $10 more than the 25 fee or $10 more than the 24 fee that you are moving?
Yeah.
So you're moving $10 more than the
Yeah.
current fee. Is
Yes.
that right? Okay, because it
So-
works for one of them and not the others.
Yeah, okay, but on both weekdays and weekends?
Weekends shows
And on
$10
the
already.
27 whole course?
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for.
So from 35 to
Well,
45.
let's take an example.
I beg your pardon?
No,
What?
it's very simple.
It's still not clear to me.
All right, the guest,
The guest weekday fee was $35.
so if they add 10, that would make it 45.
$45, is that what you mean?
That's exactly.
Total.
I thought 45.
And weekend would be 65.
And that's
And
what we
on the
have.
9-hole, it would be 28 and 38.
Even better.
And the par 3,
The weekend is the same.
Actually, I made the motion for the 27-hole golf course. I didn't make it for the 9-hole, but if we want
This
to
is
add
for
that
the-
in there, I'm for that too, for guests.
I would second that as well.
okay, so you want to change your amendment to guests across the board?
That's right.
Okay.
And I can give you an explanation too.
6,
28,
18.
38.
Okay,
Well, that's
Steve?
I just want to, again, have it clear in everyone's mind that, as Steve said, it would raise an additional $70,000. Approximately. On this guest fee increase.
Okay, let me stay.
With the 8,000 guests. The residents play I believe it was 110,000 rounds, is my recollection, according to my notes. So for every dollar you raise the members, you take in $110,000. So you go up $1, you picked up 110. This is my problem with only raising the dollar.
May I?
That wasn't the motion.
Yes, Joan?
But her motion is 10.
I'd like to state for clarification what I think you said, okay? So under greens fees for the 27 hole,
Yes.
for guests for the weekday, you raise it from 35 to 45.
Right.
And guests for the weekend, you raise it from 55 to 65, which it's already at. Okay. And then for the greens fee for the 27 hole, 9 holes, the weekday for a guest for weekday from 18 to 28, and for the guests for the weekend from 28 to 38. Is that correct?
Yikes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's quite a bit of money for the 9-hole, though.
Okay, and then going down to the par 3 course,
Oh,
That's what she just
no,
said.
that, no,
No,
part
guests
three.
would go from 16
she's
to
talking-
26.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get what you're saying.
And from
Oh, guests,
8 to
yeah.
to 18.
26,
The
yeah.
first one
Yeah.
is the 18.
So you're
course
saying
for
all
nine.
guest
Yeah.
fees raised $10.
Right.
Yes.
And the bottom one would be, the guests for the 9 holes would be, $18.
Okay.
Is that what you mean, Yvonne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, can we vote on the amendment, please? All those in favor of the amendment, which is to raise all guest fees $10, please raise your hand.
I'm gonna do it.
3, 4,
No, I'm not.
5.
5, 6.
I have a question.
Okay, wait,
I have a question.
quickly, because we're
Yeah.
voting.
I know you are, but you're suddenly voting. We talked about the 27-hole course, the full golf course, a regulation course.
Right.
The par 3 course is kind of a very short, fun course. And all of a sudden, we just threw in a $10 increase for that, which,
That's why I asked.
and that's why I want to clarify that. That's all of a sudden, that makes it quite different, makes it a lot less attractive to even use, because it's not a full course, it's a short one.
Take my vote back.
So I just want that, it bothers me when we suddenly make a move, vote right away, that's it, it's done, when the moving parts are a little different.
But if you go over to Lake Forest,
But we're not going to Lake Forest.
it's a 9-hole course.
Okay, well, I'd point out that the first green fee for par 3 course is for 18 holes. And the second fee is for 9 holes.
Yes.
So if we're going to be
And
consistent across the board.
And $18 for 9 holes on the little par 3 course.
No, it's for 18 holes.
No,
No, there's
Those
2,
are
though.
9
There's a
holes
second
at
one.
the bottom.
You said go up $10.
26
didn't you?
for the 18 holes.
That's what I'm
If we
saying, we
add
don't know.
$10,
Okay.
it would
Well,
be
that's about
18.
what,
For the
Egon?
par 3 course.
I was going to say, on the big course, though, sometimes people play 9 holes on that, too. So how do you factor that in?
That's up there.
That's up
The
there.
9
Yeah,
holes on
it
the big
shows
course
it,
is
it
there.
is
Okay, thanks.
either 18 or 9.
So you're saying
we have
it
2
would
different
be,
fees.
for guests, $18 to play 9 holes
Just
on
like the
little-
par 3, they can have 18 or 9. Okay, well, and we're still in the middle of the vote. To raise the fee $10 for guests on the green fees for all of the courses. May I see who is in favor, please?
You want to take a vote?
I am.
In favor.
3, 4,
2, 3, 4,
5.
5.
Okay, and those opposed?
1, 2, 3, 4. Online. 4
Okay.
opposed. Passes by 1.
I don't think we have anybody on Zoom, do we? There, okay. So the vote is 5 in favor, 4 against, and it passes.
Thank you.
Okay.
We call the primary question.
Yes,
What?
that was the amendment. Now, we call the primary question.
With the amendment.
With the amendment, the amended fees. All those in favor?
Six,
All right, it's unanimous.
eight. Okay, pass
Is there going to be
with amendment.
Okay, on to the next. We're not finished here,
Give me a
folks.
minute.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve a resident request for the use of the community center third floor room for a private party. Yes,
There was one speaker, I was in the restroom, I'm sorry, but there was one speaker for the last item. I don't know if I could call him up now or
The
not.
vote's been taken.
I'm sorry, the vote's been taken.
Okay, all right. Apologies, thank you.
All right, would you read the resolution, please?
There's no resolution, just a minute. You've lost some people. Yvonne, and you gotta wait. Should we take a 5-minute
Manager,
break?
yeah, could I suggest we take
Early.
a short break?
All right,
I request a 5-minute break.
all right, we'll take a 5-minute break,
Thank you.
and we will reconvene at 11:46. It'll probably be 11:47.
Resolution 90-24-XX. Resident requests for use of community center third floor room for private party. Whereas resolutions 90-12-132, 90-18-03, 90-12-12, and 90-16-18 establish guidelines for shared costs and fees. Certain fees can be imposed upon users of various recreational facilities to control crowding, mitigate overusage, and recover operating costs. And whereas the room reservation fees administered by the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods Board of Directors adhere to the shared cost guidelines established in Resolution 90-12-132, whereby certain fees can be imposed upon users of various recreation facilities in order to control crowding and minimize overusage and to recover operating costs. And whereas the resident requests the use of the community center third floor room on December 20th, 2024 from 5 to 9 p.m. for a private party. And whereas the resident requests 10 to 12 tables and 60 chairs, exact numbers to be determined at a later date, coffee urn and a water dispenser with a light meal to be provided by the resident. And whereas the resident would also like the use of the table tennis room for her guests, and the table tennis club president stated the club would have one member for each 3 guests to remain compliant with the table tennis operating rules. And whereas on August 8th, 2024, the Community Activities Committee reviewed and recommended the resident request to use the community center third floor room for a private party and use of the table tennis room for guests on December 20th, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved September 3rd, 2024, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts an exception for the resident request to use the community center third floor room for a private party and use of the table tennis room for guests on December 20th, 2024. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move that we approve this resolution.
And this is an approval, folks. This is not 28 days. Do I have a second? All right.
Who did?
Bill.
Okay, Bill.
Okay, do I have any discussion on this?
I can only say.
I want to discuss it. You don't.
I know you do.
We need some clarification.
Okay. This is a lady that's been playing with the tennis or the table tennis people for years, and it's her 90th birthday. She's bringing in relatives of hers are going to be staying next door at the Eris Hotel. And apparently her family and all the table tennis people are excited about celebrating her birthday. And so that's how it came to be. She said that she would make a donation because there is no policy on how much that, there's no rent has not been established for that room. And she said that she'd be glad to make a donation. She's a lovely person, I might add, too. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have to speak against this motion. I'm sure she's a lovely lady, but I don't like making an exception. We do this for her, and with room rentals as hard to get as they are in this village, we're going to have more and more people saying, I want to use that. It's now used by classroom for Saddleback, and because Clubhouse 1 isn't open, things that have been moved there, just on a temporary basis. But we have not opened it up as a room rental. However, if we make this exception, I don't know how we're going to be able to in the future say no. When we're talking staff to set up 60 chairs, 10 to 12 tables, coffee urn, water dispenser, which we don't have. And they're going to serve a light meal. And we're going to have to do cleanup afterwards. They say that the table tennis people will have one member for each 3 guests to remain compliant. That's another 20 people. If she has 60 guests, she's asking for 60 chairs.
Sorry, I think that 60 people that she's talking includes the table tennis people.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. And I'd also like to point out that they have reserved the Elm Room as a backup in case we say no. Elm Room is a rentable room, and it is in the same building. I know her guests are at the Airs. They can walk over. I understand why she doesn't want to go to one of our clubhouses. It might be a transportation problem, but quite frankly, I don't like exceptions. We've made a few this year that I have been very much against, and it's really hard when you make an exception to say no the next time. Steve?
I agree with you, Juanita.
Okay. All right, I'll call the question. Hmm? Oh, I'm sorry. I was calling the question. Those in favor of approving the request for the use of the 3rd floor room for a private party, please raise your hand. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And those opposed? 4. Okay. All right, it passes. And we'll turn it over to Recreation. All right, our next item. Entertain a motion to approve the updated traffic fees. This is the September notification, and it goes on 28 days. Would you read that resolution, please? Oh, before you read the resolution, I've been asked, I can't tell you how many times, they don't understand when we read a resolution, and it says Resolution 9024XX. That's because until a resolution is passed, it cannot be given a number. And so the 90 means that it's GRF, and the 24 is the year, 24, and the XX will be added if and when that resolution is passed. So go for it.
Resolution 90-24-XX, Schedule of Traffic Monetary Penalties. Whereas at the July 29th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting, the committee approved staff's recommendation of the proposed schedule of traffic monetary penalties with an effective date of January 1st, 2025. And whereas the change aims to enhance adherence to traffic and parking regulations and reduce the frequency of violations. Now, therefore, be it resolved on October 1st, 2024, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves the revised schedule of traffic monetary penalties as presented. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I move that we approve this resolution for discussion purposes and postpone the final vote per Civil Code 4360. Second?
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Bill.
Do we have any discussion? Yes.
I have one question.
You want the fees.
Under the fee schedule number 727, what is a vehicle decal? I need a definition.
All right. We have a number of decals. There's a decal that shows that it's an electric vehicle. There's a decal for both United and Third. They have separate decals. We have a decal for
Paid electricity.
No? Well, yeah.
We have a decal for when they have OPPs or overnight parking permits.
And golf
it's-
courts.
And the golf cars as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Donna?
To clarify, that decal for the electric vehicles, my understanding is only if they plug into
Right, it's if they
Laguna
pay the
Woods facilities.
$240.
If they have a garage and plug it in on their own electricity, they don't need that decal, correct?
Right.
Okay, I just want to clarify it for anyone listening who might panic.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I would just like to make my own comment, if I may. This is not a revenue-raising resolution. This is something that, I'm not even going to say punitive, but it basically gets people's attention to our rules. At our last meeting, Security Community Access, we showed that from June 28th to August 14th, we had 149 violations for not obeying stop signs. We had 4 people come to traffic hearings. The others just paid the $25. It doesn't matter, it's just $25, it doesn't matter. I can do it as many times as I want, and you don't know how many more times they did it, because if you'll see in our fee schedule, the rates do increase if they do it multiple times. So if they get second and third violations, and that doesn't always count if they just go ahead and pay it. They don't know that. Yeah.
As an example, if I may, failure to stop used to be first time $50. It is now $200.
think
For
that'll
a
get some
second
attention.
violation for the same thing, for failure to stop, it used to be $100. It is now $300. And if you happen to not stop the third time, it's $400 instead of $200. So we're hoping that these are significant fees that will cause people to think, and they will be published loud and clear if they're approved, so that everybody knows how much you're going to have to pay if you fail to stop and are caught.
And our speeding, especially the low speeding, 6 to 10 miles per hour, they do it all the time, and they just go ahead and pay the $25 fee and until they do it again. I think we need to get people's attention. I would point out that this would not go into effect until January. And so for the next 3 months, we have the opportunity and the obligation to publicize this in all of our various means of communication so that it doesn't come as a shock, hopefully, to most people, although some will say, I never heard anything about it. So Dick's going to say something.
I'm sorry, I was outside, but I just want to ask, will this apply to other vehicles other than cars? I'm talking about golf carts, bicycles, and things of that nature.
It applies to all motor vehicles.
Motor vehicles, but not golf carts?
Golf carts and motor vehicles.
Okay, thank you very much.
And so are electric bikes.
Thank you.
Electric bicycles,
Are electric.
all these.
We did have another speaker,
Yes.
Jules Allen.
Okay, Jules?
I appear here to argue that the board should reject the proposed fine enhancements because you're being asked to adopt a proposal without, I think, justification. We're told by the staff report the reason is if members feel that financial consequences are minimal, they'll be less likely to adhere to the rules. But there are no facts to support that argument. No instance of anyone actually making that statement. To read the report would conclude that we're a community of scofflaws, that our members are racing around town seriously endangering our residents. But that's not so. I spend a lot of time riding my bike around the entire community. It's my opinion this is the safest community I've ever been in. I'm not aware of any serious accidents or any accidents at all since we moved here 9 years ago. That sure tells me that we don't have a problem with members regularly violating our traffic rules. Quite to the contrary, it's been my experience that judges sitting at our traffic court, not one of which, to my knowledge, ever had any judicial prior
It is not a
judicial
traffic
capacity.
court.
Pardon me?
It is not a traffic court. It is not a court. It's not set up one. That's not the way it's run.
Yeah, excuse me, this is my time. It is called a traffic court,
No.
and in fact, that's what the rules are, because I used to appear on, I was a judge on the traffic court, and that's what they called it, traffic court. In any event, the only possible justification is increasing any fine should be to handle those few cases of recidivism. I mean, if somebody regularly is found racing through town or violating the stop sign, then by all means, we should make them pay, but not just for a second offense. Here's why I think we should not raise any fines, because if a member feels they're being treated unfairly, it'll only make them angry, and that makes no sense at all. So doubling or tripling fines without any justification will only make the guilty member very unhappy, and that's not what we should be looking for. The staff talks about resident safety being at risk in causing damage to the community or members' property, but there's no evidence to support those claims at all. They're baseless arguments. In the real world, outside our gates, a rule that is enacted without a proper basis can be described as arbitrary or capricious, and courts have used that to throw out the rules. This board should do the same with this arbitrary and capricious proposal. As Nancy Reagan would say, just say no. Thank you.
I'd like to rebut that a little. I think I gave you some justification, and if you need more, we had 303 violations over the last 6 weeks. Take that out for a year and see how many people that is. You say that somebody's going to be angry because they get a violation. What about the people that are cut off? You hear people come into our meetings all the time and complain that the traffic didn't, they were cut off, they almost had an accident, they almost ran over somebody, and we have had a number of accidents. And if you would come to the SCAC meeting, you would be privy to all of the statistics that we get every month showing why we need this.
If there is recidivism, I think we should sock it to them.
It
And I
is.
think that's the way to handle the problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to clarify, they are traffic hearings. We make it very clear in every one of them that it is not a court, and anything that happens at that, the fines or non-fines or whatever they do are not reported to the DMV or their insurance company. It is strictly internal to our village. Egon?
Yeah, I got just one comment on one of them. I think $200 for running a stop sign is okay, but that's for running a stop sign. For doing a California stop in a community where there are way too many stop signs. I mean, we put stop signs in places where they do not put them on the outside. When you come to a T road interval, the through traffic rarely has stop signs. Here we have them all over the place. So I would say running a stop sign 200 is just great, but if you're making a California stop, and most of the stuff that I've seen is people come up to the stop sign and they go down to nearly nothing and then they go through. That's a little excessive.
That's
But
not what we see in traffic hearings where all of these are videotaped. And
I
we
know-
see the
I know they're
video, and they
videotaped.
just go.
Well, that's what I said. If you have somebody that just runs it, that's fine. But if you have somebody that looks like they're stopping and then just creeps through.
The other thing I'd like to point out on the schedule of fees, which has been a question that I've gotten, there is a red dot before some of them. Those are the ones that are not eligible for traffic school. It's your moving violations that are available for, traffic school is available for. Okay.
I have a comment.
Gan?
Yeah, I have a comment on 691, which deals with riding a bicycle on the sidewalk. You know, I walk every day via Mariposa. 10 to 12-year boy, very nice boy, looking boy. He was going on the sidewalk where I was walking, almost going to hit me, but I just stepped aside. Initially, I got a little bit irritated that this boy is riding here, and perhaps he will be hitting an elderly person who will not be able to move away, just like I did. Then I secondly thought, after a while, that if that boy was riding on the road, it will be more dangerous, because he will be hitting a car maybe, and he will be very much in danger. How do we handle a boy like a 12-year-old, and he was not accompanied by his parents or anybody, perhaps visiting here somewhere? So how do we address that? How do you punish? Who do you punish?
We would have to put bike lanes in all of our streets, and I don't think we're ready to take that step. But if a lot of the riding bicycles on a sidewalk have to do with like our Friendship Walk and our Elisa Create. There are big signs, no bicycles, but they do it anyway. And when they do electric bicycles on sidewalks, we've had a number of people who have been almost run over. So that's why the rule is there.
Mm-hmm. Well, perhaps it is the judgment for us.
Yes, Kush?
Well, I have a few questions about some of these fees, and some of them are very minor and some of them seem very high. So where is the middle line? 640 says left of center is $125 first offense and $175 second offense. Correct? Am I reading it right?
Yeah.
Hit
That's
and
people that
run.
are riding down the middle of the road so that you can't have traffic on either side.
But
There are
you see,
two lanes.
There are some streets which are so narrow, and cars being parked on the side, on the right side, then you have to go past the center line. Come to my cul-de-sac. You'll see it.
Cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then item reckless. How would you be reckless when your driving limit is only 25 miles an hour?
You run your
it's
cell
kind of-
phone.
and that to the fee is 300 and 400.
You can talk to the person that lost their life last month.
Oh,
being hit by a
in
car.
60 years, how many did we lose?
In 60 years, I can't give you a number, but we do
Yeah.
have, it is.
Then what is item 800? It says fire hydrant. Is it parked in front of a fire
Yes,
hydrant?
parked in front of a top fire hydrant.
Here.
And that's also a red curb for any reason, so that the buses can stop and whatever.
Not all
But-
fire hydrants have a red curb.
Okay, that's why we called it out just as a fire hydrant.
Yes. So I think some of our fees are good at a certain point, but some of them are just raised indiscriminately. So I am kind of questioning that they are raised a bit too much. Somebody was a little heavy on the pen.
Eric?
And First Vice President, I just wanted to address the reckless, and I know if everybody, it would be the same thing as speeding, actually, Director Bahada, that we wouldn't be able to give a speeding ticket if everybody was driving 25 miles per hour, right?
Correct.
And we have a number of people that drive 11, 15 miles above the speed limit, but reckless generally requires 3 violations, but that they witness, but most of the violation has to do with the speed in which they're traveling. And they'll be driving fast, they'll make an unsafe turning movement, and possibly not stopping or rolling through the stop sign. And then the officer has that on videotape, and then will stop them for reckless driving. And that's pretty much standard even for law enforcement, they generally observe that what makes it reckless, or at least in law enforcement, it would be actually a misdemeanor crime. And if somebody's injured, then it's obviously a felony. But in this case, it's a citation. What makes it reckless is actually observing at least 2 to 3 different moving violations on the one stop.
I have a suggestion to that, Chief. If we have those kind of people driving in our community, hand them over to the sheriff and let them handle the ticketing and all that kind of stuff and absolve us from all that. I have experienced people driving past me on the left. That shouldn't be happening in the community.
Sure.
Correct? Passing you from the left. Because we have
By the time we called the sheriff and the sheriff got somebody over here,
Well,
that's what if you find somebody like that, you're going to stop him, right? Our staff are going to stop him. Correct? So call the sheriff and say, hey, take this guy, lock him up.
Yeah, that would be, we would prefer something like that, but the sheriff's department doesn't operate that way because one is, they don't have that type of jurisdiction, and because most of this stuff is seen as either misdemeanors or less, or infractionary behavior, they have to actually observe that behavior before they can witness it.
I know.
Before they can take action, and they don't have jurisdiction on this private property, like which would require a lot of changes for the county in order for them to enforce traffic on here. The only ones that they actually come out for is injury accidents, to take the accident report, and if somebody's committing a crime as a result of that accident report, just like they did with the fatality that unfortunately occurred here about a month ago, from that the first vice president had already, or Madam Chair had already indicated. They would take those types of reports, but they wouldn't do what you would want, and probably would make life a lot easier for security, but and in terms of enforcement. But then you would have, you'd have to wait for the sheriff's department to actually be able to do that. So.
I'd like to make one other clarification. Sorry, Steve and Don. On some of these, for instance, let's talk about reckless or the speeding. What we hear is it's not us, it's FedEx, it's Amazon, it's people that are in contractors in the communities, etc. We do give them notices of violation. We contact their companies. Believe me, if a FedEx driver gets a citation from us, it's very serious. They may lose their route. We have a pretty good relationship, I'd say, with some of the major ones that come in. We don't have every pizza place or delivery, but it's not just there. We have a lot of people in the village that don't care, don't live in the village, and they do violate these rules, and they are ticketed and violated with violations as well.
Correct.
Okay, Donna?
Yeah, just to reiterate, the purpose of this isn't for revenue for us. The purpose is to hopefully have it be a deterrent. So when we say, but if they're speeding, we'll catch them and they won't do it the next time, the idea is that they will not speed in the first place, hopefully, if they know that there's a real penalty and it's not $25. That's the purpose. And so it's great to think, if we'd catch them. But the whole idea is, if there's a deterrent, that they will be less likely. We're never going to guarantee that everybody does everything by the rules, but they're less likely to speed and less likely to run the stop sign. And frankly, we can't have security people everywhere. There's no way. Eric can tell you. The part of that deterrent is the potential for a large fine. And as Juanita just said, if it's someone who works then their company is reported, they're reported to their company. And so if you have some other way to suggest a deterrent, but we don't want it to happen in the first place. And I think that's what's a little different perspective. We don't want the fine. We want it not to happen. And if this doesn't do it, then I don't know what will, because we've tried everything else, from flashing stop signs.
Okay, Steve?
A question and a comment, and then a question for the chief. Fire hydrants, is that everywhere within the perimeter, or is that just on GRF streets? Is that in cul-de-sacs? Where is this going to apply?
I believe all
Anywhere
of
in
the
the
fire
village.
hydrants are on GRF property.
No, you have fire hydrants in cul-de-sacs, you have fire hydrants on Mutual 50 property?
That would be.
That are in front of, where they are parking on the streets, all the streets.
They are not GRF streets, they are mutual-owned cul-de-sac alleys or Mutual 50 internals.
Yeah, as far as I know, these are all GRF. That's the only jurisdiction that GRF has, is on GRF property.
So this is not going to apply if somebody parks in front of a fire hydrant at Mutual 50, or if somebody parks in front of a fire hydrant in a cul-de-sac in United.
We are suggesting that this be made, and we're giving it to Third, and they've already adopted almost all of this, and United, because it needs to be village-wide.
Okay.
We can't have security officers that say, is it this rule or that rule, or where do we do? In the same way with, it's been given, or will be given
Hence
to
my question.
Mutual 50,
Where
so that
will
it
this
is
apply to?
village-wide.
But for right now, this fire hydrant is just on GRF named streets, correct?
I think that's where
Okay.
they are.
My other comment was,
Carlos, did you have?
I have a question.
Wait, Carlos?
Yeah, in terms of the fire hydrant, it would apply to all fire hydrants. So we got to remember too, the approval of the traffic rules has been done by GRF in combination with all the mutuals as well. And then also the secondary enforcement mechanism would be if the fire department responds and there's a car blocking it, they would be able to take action via the sheriff's department to issue a citation above and beyond what security might do.
okay, so what I'm hearing from the chief is something different than what you're telling me, and especially to my concern when you say this has been done in coordination with GRF and the mutuals. Mutual 50,
We provide security services for mutual
I
for
understand
the
that.
towers.
So my question is, if I see somebody parked in front of a fire hydrant, a moving van, parked in front of a fire hydrant in Mutual 50, and I call security, are they going to come out and write a ticket?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, you're welcome.
My comment.
And we do have membership on the committee from Mutual
Okay.
50, and they have
But
accepted this.
I just want to be clear, because sometimes security officers in the field tell me things that are different than what I hear from the C-suite or from directors of departments, just saying. The turn signal thing irks the heck out of me, because people don't use them, and they cut right in front of you, or you have to slam on their brakes, or whatever the case may be. I'd like to see that as a higher fee, just myself, just as a comment. Thank you.
I have a question.
All right, Dan?
I have a question for the staff. I don't understand, that's why I'm asking. 810, a penalty for handicap parking with ID verification. If I have an ID, why I should be punished?
That's the point. You
Huh?
need to have your ID posted where everyone can see it.
Yeah, I
If
have.
it's not posted, that's when you get fined. I've been fined because mine wasn't up.
What?
If your ID,
If you're handicapped.
if your handicapped identification does not show and you are handicapped, if it doesn't show, you're going to get a warning. And then if you go in and say, well, I had this, but I didn't have it up. If it happens only once, no problem. But if person does not show a handicap parking and they park in handicap, they're fine.
And that doesn't say it.
Handicap parking with placard and handicapped ID verification, that not showing, it's just, it should.
It does not say that.
Yeah,
It
it's worded.
says.
If I could make a point of order,
With placard.
we are not considering the categories of violations, we're considering the fee structure. So that a discussion of should we be charging, should we be citing this or should we be citing that is not before us. The only issue before us is, are we going to adopt or not adopt the fee structure that has been recommended to us? Right?
We just need to correct this and say with parking, remove the with.
That's a matter to be brought up with
810,
the
811 is
Committee
with
of
no.
Jurisdiction
811
as to
is
the
when you get
wording
fined.
of the violation, because
I
we
don't
don't
get- I
have
don't know what-
the wording of the violation before us. We have the money before us.
Okay, Kush, you have your
I
hand
have no problem with 811.
No, 810 is weird.
But 810 does not say, if I have ID shown, she should not be punished.
On that violation, what the issue is that you don't have it up. You get a citation, you produce the fact that you have a proper handicap permit, and you're cited because you didn't display it.
So then it should be
And then
written,
if
not
you
showing.
don't, if you park in handicap and you do not have a certificate showing and you do not possess a certificate, that's the other violation.
I understand
Okay.
that, but it
We
should
will
be
add
said,
the-
ID not shown.
We will add the words not
Having
displayed.
it, but not showing.
But this is
We
same
will
as
add the words not displayed
it says
for 810.
810 and 811 are the same, but they're not.
Well, they're not. One
11
has
is okay.
no placard. And they never did have, but they're parking in
811 is
handicap.
okay. Okay,
810, they have it, but they haven't displayed it. So if they display it, then there. Okay, I'm sorry, Kush.
I had one last comment. I think, Donna, what you mentioned
I think
was
what's
correct.
missing.
But what I think what we should enforce more or try to work on is just like we did for water saving, enforce it more through the media and communications to let people know that this is what they're not doing and this is what they should be doing. And that way, we may not have to go with such high fee hikes, because I am not in favor of such high fee hikes.
Okay,
Okay, so you're voting no.
Yeah.
Joan?
Okay, back again, just for a second. There is a word missing, Eric, and it should say handicap parking with placard and no handicap ID verification. There should be a no under 810, just before handicap. Because if you don't have a verification, then
Well,
that's what, I think that's
What
what it's
typically
meant.
what happens with 810 is they're cited, right? Or they're cited, they're given a notice of violation. They come to security and this is what always happens. They come to security and they say, I do have a handicap placard. And then we say, and we have a picture or photograph, we say, well, it wasn't on the vehicle
Right.
posted properly. So they say that they come in with a handicap ID verification is what they're actually saying,
Right.
is what we're saying. If they come in, the handicap parking with placard and handicap ID verification, then there is no fine if they can prove that to us.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct. But I'm saying that the word no is missing in that paragraph.
I think the word's not displayed.
Not
Not displayed probably
No, that's not
would be
what he's saying.
would make a clarification, yeah.
Yeah.
What we're saying in here is that, and I know this is getting off.
I know.
It's
a little bit,
really
but-
getting off.
But what we're saying is that because they have an ID, a verification of their handicap placard, then that's why there's a 0 in the first column
Yeah.
that says they don't get fined for it,
Right.
right?
Okay, we need to move ahead on this. Everybody's there. So I'd like to call for the vote. We have a motion and a second to approve the updated traffic fees, to move ahead to our October meeting with 28-day notification. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. All right. And now we go down to D. Entertain a motion to approve the revision of the Golden Ray Foundation traffic rules and regulations. Again, this is to put it 28-day notification. And I will say right now, this is something that's been under review for quite a while. And it was presented this last Wednesday at our SCAC meeting. And our wonderful administrative people were taking notes like crazy as we did it, but they didn't all get in. But the main thing is, we agreed that before the October meeting, we would have a clean copy that had been edited and proofread for format, spelling, and punctuation. There seemed to be a number of things, but rather than go over each of those separately today, I'd just like to say that that will be done before October, but I would like a vote today to move this forward to the October vote.
Okay.
Did you move it, Joan?
Resolution 90-24-XX, Vehicle, Traffic, and Parking Rules. Whereas the Security Department is responsible for the administration of the Laguna Woods Village Vehicle, Traffic, and Parking Rules, and whereas the Security and Community Access Committee has recognized the need to revise the vehicle, traffic, and parking rules with updates and clarifying language. And now, therefore, be it resolved on October 1st, 2024, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the vehicle, traffic, and parking rules as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. And resolved further that Resolution 90-19-56 approved December 3rd, 2019. Resolution 90-19-25 adopted June 4th, 2019. Resolution 90-16-26 adopted June 7th, 2016. Resolution 90-16-24 adopted June 7th, 2016. Resolution 90-15-29 adopted May 5th, 2015, and Resolution 90-14-21 adopted May 6th, 2014 are hereby superseded and canceled. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written. I move we approve this resolution for discussion purposes and postpone the final vote per Civil Code 4360.
And I'd like to point out that when
Second.
I'm sorry.
Second?
Who seconded?
Steve seconds.
Yeah, thank you. When this is presented at the October meeting, it will be the clean copy. Today you have gotten a red line from the old one showing all of the changes that have been made. If you really want to take the time to go through all of that. And we do have a clean copy, but the clean copy is where we have seen there were some
errors,
formatting, spelling, punctuation that needs to be updated. So what you will see at the October meeting is the clean copy that we will be voting on. Any other questions or discussion on this one? Yes.
We have 2 member comments for this item.
Okay.
The first one is Sue Stevens.
Sue Stevens, 901. I think it's important that we note that we use the correct language in the resolution to allow us to change it between now and October. So I suggest the words substantially final form before the word attached.
Okay.
You follow me where?
Oh, I see down near the bottom.
Good point. Thank you.
Substantially, what did you say? Substantially?
Substantially final form. That's quite common.
Form, yes.
Terminology.
Instead of as attached.
Or as attached in substantially
attached
final
in,
form.
Okay. That's just a Scribner's. So if you got that Guys, it's appropriate, as attached in substantially final form.
Okay, all right. I'd like to call for the-
And, oh, sorry, just one more speaker.
You got one more?
Richard Rader.
Boy, am I getting my exercise today, up and down.
Got to sit closer.
I have to apologize. I didn't get a chance to read this, so I'm going to ask you a question. It relates to the following. There are some people who go on extended vacations. They're snowbirds sometimes. They're only here a couple of times, well, a couple of months in the year. So their cars are parked for extended periods of time. Now, in my cul-de-sac, we are severely affected by this because we have very few parking spaces. So I'm wondering, is this issue addressed now in the thing that you have before you?
Yes, sir, it
whereby
is.
it may suggest that people who are going away for extended periods of time, are you offering them an alternate parking area where they, if they wish, could park their car there and then fill up a space that could then be used by guests, residents, et cetera?
We do address it. We do not offer alternate parking space at this time. There's been some discussion that there is room in the RV Lot 1. There are some blank spaces, or once we get the bus system moved back over to Clubhouse 1, where the buses are now, that parking lot next to the library, is there a possibility that we could use some of that? That's what we're looking at. But right now, what we address that, we say, if you're going to be out of town for any extended amount, and that's a week or two is 6 months, whatever, you need to let security know and get a, what's it called, Eric? A do not cite. There's a little notice that can go on your car so that they know it's not abandoned.
Okay, that'll be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of moving this forward to October meeting? It's unanimous. Thank you. And I certainly hope that we'll have no problems with our printing shop and that you'll get this in plenty of time to have read through it well beforehand. Okay, now we get to the meat. Yoo-hoo! What we've all been waiting for. Whoopee. Number E is the 2025 business plan. I will have you read that, please.
Resolution 90-24-LX, 2025 Business Plan Resolution. Resolved September 3rd, 2024, that the business plan of this corporation for the year 2025 is hereby adopted and approved. And resolved further, that pursuant to said business plan, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby estimates that the sum of $46,515,424 will be required by the corporation to meet its annual expenses of operation for the year 2025. Additionally, $2,598,144 is planned for reserve contributions, and contingency fund contributions have been eliminated. After deducting $764,160 derived from prior year's surplus and the sum of $11,948,095 expected to be received from various sources as revenue during 2025, the Board of Directors hereby estimates that the net sum of $401,313 will be required to be paid by the corporation members in accordance with the terms of that certain trust agreement dated March 2nd, 1964, as amended, and the bylaws of the corporation. And resolve further that this corporation shall charge each member the sum of $238.19 per month per membership of said corporation for its share of the aforesaid net expenses and reserve contributions for the year 2025. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve the 2025 business plan resolution. Yvonne seconds.
All right. Any discussion? I'd like to make one comment that I had felt might be put in the resolution. Just the fact that 84% of this amount is fixed costs that we really have no control over. So $8 of $10 is beyond our control. Electricity, gas, trash, all of those things, that water, whatever. So I think that needs to be publicized to all of our members when they look at what the per man or per month is going to be. I'll call for the vote. All of those in favor of the motion to approve the business plan? Any opposed? Seeing none? Okay, and how about the reserves funding plan, the next one?
Give me a second. No, not reserved. Wait a minute. No, that's not reserved. It's a capital plan resolution. Capital plan.
Yeah, there is one.
Page 23 of 28.
Yep.
We skipped something. The reserve capital plan is 12F.
No, that's the next one. F. This is E.
Hang on. Sorry. A lot of pages to go through. E. Okay. All right, got it. Sorry. Resolution 90-24-XX, 2025 Reserves Funding Plan Resolution. Whereas Civil Code 5570 requires specific reserve funding disclosure statements for associations, and whereas planned assessments or other contributions to replacement reserves must be projected to ensure balances will be sufficient at the end of each year to meet the association's obligations for repair and or replacement of major components during the next 30 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved, September 3rd, 2024, that pursuant to Civil Code 5570, the Board hereby adopts the 30-year reserve funding plans attached, prepared by a reserve specialist for fiscal year 2025. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move we approve this resolution.
Do I have a second? Donna?
Donna.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Yes, Steve?
Are we on 12F?
No, we're on
12E.
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 Oh, okay.
Like me, I.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And the 2 pages that follow it show that we are low risk. We're in the green part, at least for the next few years. We're doing really well with the reserves and contingency funds. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, and now we get to the capital plan.
Okay. I'm working on it. Okay. Resolution 90-24-XX, 2025 Capital Plan Resolution. Resolved September 3rd, 2024, that the Capital Reserve Expenditures Plan of this corporation for the year 2025 is hereby adopted and approved. And resolved further that pursuant to said business plan, the sum of $7,448,900 is hereby authorized to be expended in 2025 for the purposes provided therein, of which $3,262,600 is designated from the equipment fund and $4,186,300 from the facilities fund. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move that we approve the resolution for our 2025 capital plan.
Second.
Second, Donna. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions, comments? Steve, you had one for this one? Steve?
Being as concerned with finances as I am, I just wanted to make a couple of comments on the capital plan based on my prior experience. Under miscellaneous, the automatic lighting controls for $100,000, I understand what that is, and it's kind of called out there what they're going to try to accomplish. Having not been part of the committee process of this in its formulation, because I had not been a director yet, I do want to get some more information from staff about what that ROI looks like, just out of curiosity, but that's for me. The EMS system for $390,000. We have invested huge sums of money over the years in EMS, and my understanding is it has never been fully implemented. I know that we have older parts in the EMS system in certain facilities. Seems like we're still addressing the same issues that I heard and was addressing back in 2018, back in the days. My concern is that in order to have a functioning EMS system, you need someone to manage that system. And Bert Maldau pushed very hard to have VMS hire an individual in that capacity. And an individual was hired, but their duties were then reassigned, and we never really had a full-time EMS person. Given our electric bills are now running close to $1.2 million, and we've invested more than $1 million in EMS, and we're looking at investing another $390,000, I think it's well past time that we have someone dedicated in this capacity. I am in this building frequently on the weekends, as I have stated before, and the temperatures on the second floor and in the boardroom, or whatever the case may be, are in the 69-degree area during the summer, which means the HVAC is working and pumping hard. I was in Clubhouse 2 yesterday, which was closed, and the air conditioning was going full blast. We have EMS systems. In order to use them, you have to schedule the rooms in buildings such as this, which are used consistently on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. You have to change the EMS programming to accommodate for the change of season, right? There's no reason that this boardroom has to be at any temperature under or over 76 or 77 degrees if it's not going to be occupied. An EMS system allows you to turn on the air conditioning an hour before the meeting and get the temperature down to 70 degrees if that's where you want it. So I really just, we spend a lot of money on this stuff, and I mean, we've built an ocean liner and we don't have a captain. I just want to bring that to everybody's attention, and that will be a focus going forward for me in a very serious manner. And a final point is under clubhouses, we have, and these are reserve items, I understand this, and they are ongoing, but Clubhouse 1 Fitness Center, new HVAC for $100,000. Clubhouse 2 Annex Building and Pool Area Roofs, $182,000. HVAC system for Clubhouse 7, $175,000. Again, we must replace this in the capital plan because the equipment is aged and is replaced on a reserved basis. But we should be implementing our EMS system to solidify all this money that we spend on all of these systems so that we can get a serious reduction in our energy expense. Thank you.
Okay. Kush?
Does staff have any response to that we don't manage our EMS system? No?
I have heard some people say, oh, yeah, we work the EMS system. But the proper way to manage the EMS system is to have somebody reviewing constantly and scheduling rooms and also on the seasonal transitional basis. Thank you.
As we're going through the staff report, you'll notice that the staff report calls out that the older software in the clubhouses is incompatible with our current system. That's the whole point in coming to you and asking for the funds to do so, is so we can upgrade the current system so they do become compatible. So all of the benefits can be reaped.
That's the same thing I've been hearing since 2016 and 2017. Clubhouse after clubhouse, pack after pack. I understand the change in technology has happened, but if you talk to people like Bill Walsh, who were also here at that period of time and on the GRF Energy Committee at the time, and when we had Village Energy Task Force, we're still updating equipment, and I understand the need to do that. But updating equipment, I mean, putting a new transmission in a car you're not going to drive doesn't make sense. To spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on implementing a new EMS system, if it's not going to be run properly, we're just spending money for no use. I'm not opposed to it. I'm wholeheartedly support it, 100%. But let's get serious about this, and let's do the job.
Egon?
Okay, so we're here once again to approve a budget, and Steve has just very strongly illustrated a problem. We approve these budgets, and then stuff comes up that we have never discussed, and earlier this morning, the sound system for the PAC has never seen the light of day. We don't even have clue one what's being proposed, and never discussed it. Okay, but the rest of us, I've never seen I've never seen anything in writing. And there are many, as we generate the capital budget, we approve many, many things to get into it that we never discuss, okay? So before we spend it, you said, Madam Chair, you pointed out that on many things in the operating budget, we don't have control. Well, we have complete control of the capital budget. And it's terrible that we have things come up that just get approved without any further discussion when they were never discussed in the first place. If you want to have next year's capital discussion that staff brings forth a backup for every project in there, then in the future we'll be fine.
We did have such a meeting, Egon.
What's that?
Capital plan.
Yeah, I realize we had many capital plans, but we didn't discuss the individual items, nor did we have four. The other point I want to make is Steve is absolutely correct. The EMS stuff has been a joke. And to spend more money on anything before we understand what's going on and commit ourselves to using what we have is ridiculous, because we're just putting another $390,000 in, and a year from now we'll be in the same place. Well, Steve's absolutely right. There should not, it can't be that complicated. There should not be cooled off all weekend long when nobody's in the building. And I've been here too occasionally checking the for mail and seeing that in fact it is on. And many times I drive by at night and I say, I can't believe we have that many janitors, that they're in practically every room at the same time. So, yeah. I mean, I'm going to vote yes to prove it, but from now on, we've got to discuss before we spend.
Okay, Steve?
If I can just address the one comment, you're right to a certain extent. I mean, we've had multiple meetings discussing the capital plan, but there are certain things that we may have not gone over to the detail level that you're interested in seeing, right? But I will pass along the feedback from both the directors to the MNC committee, so specifically Manuel Gomez, and then you can take it up at that time, or he will bring it forward. If you're interested in, I'm not saying delaying approval of the budget, but if you're interested in delaying approval of the actual work being completed, have a conversation with MNC. You can have the detailed conversations at that time, right? But maybe at this time, approval of the budget isn't necessarily the time to be discussing the intricacies of the individual project.
Okay, Kush?
I want to point.
One
Madam
Wait,
Chairman.
Kush. Kush first, and then you.
Who goes first?
Kush.
You?
Yeah, I had my hand up much longer.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I'm just going around.
In our earlier capital meeting, I had mentioned that we should consider putting solar panels on our, starting with one of our clubhouses, because as you mentioned earlier, the main expenses that are part of our HOA dues, the GRF dues, are electricity and our utilities in short. And at that time I was told by the MNC person, Manuel, that we are going to have a presentation by one of the colleges or universities, the neighboring. Unfortunately, I wasn't present for the subsequent meeting and it got lost over there. So have we even considered putting any solar panels on any of our place so that we can get a handle on our electricity bill?
Kush, this is not the meeting where we can discuss that in the same
I
way as
understand,
Steve.
but
we have a capital plan budget meeting that we've had a couple of months ago. I don't have my calendar. Just as we did for the others.
I understand.
Where each department came in. We also looked at the capital plan at each different item at that time. That was the time to bring things up for there.
I did, but I was not present for the subsequent meeting because I had some other personal engagement.
Oh, I was, and I can tell you it was worthless.
I know, I'm not asking you for an answer. I'm just asking, is it possible that if we are going to take the EMS money off, the 390,000, can we use that for using it for a possible solar? I'm going to turn my microphone off because I think it's causing.
So I may I'll just repeat a little bit what Madam Chair had mentioned a moment ago. So we've had multiple meetings with regards to the details of these items on this capital plan. If you have further interest and questions in terms of why maybe a solar panel was not added to this, again, I would encourage you to talk to the MNC chair, and if that's something that should be brought before the MNC committee, you can bring it forward at that time. There is always an opportunity for you to do a supplemental appropriation. If you identify a project that has not been identified on this list, again, there's opportunities to make a change. But if I may, this has been presented at length in terms of the details. So if you have questions, I'm hoping I can answer them. If not, again, I would recommend that those the details be directed to your MNC committee.
And
well, Madam Chairman, I would like to point it out, it is about 1 o'clock. And we have more than one page of items. So please consider the timing of it.
all right, thank you. Did we have any more comments over there? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the capital plan, please raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous. And I hope that all of you who are on the board next year will take opportunity at the earlier meetings where we go into these in detail to bring your suggestions forth at that time. Okay, it says a 5-minute break, but we had our break before, so I'm going to do away with 13 and go right to 14. And if the board will support me on this, I'd like to just do our the Finance Committee, the Treasurer's Report.
I had my hand raised, but that's what I was going to suggest.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you read my mind.
Yeah, we need to do the Treasurer's Report and show that on TV to all of our residents. But I think we can, unless there's something vital coming from the committee reports that you think needs to go before our residents at this time, we will do away with those. We will not do those this time. So turn it over to Bill.
Let's Mike first. Move through this promptly. Pen. Okay. All right. Slide 1. This first table shows all revenues and expenses for operating reserves and restricted funds through the reporting period of July 31, 2024. GRF had a net revenue of $3.1 million with a total revenue of $31.2 million and a total expense of $28 million. The GRF was better than budget by $819,000 with a total expenses coming in lower than budget by $624,000, primarily due to higher investment income than anticipated and lower cable programming costs. This was partially offset due to less trust facility fee revenue than was anticipated. Slide number 2, please. The next table displays the operating fund activities, which excludes non-operating revenues, expenses, and depreciation. This report shows a favorable variance of $636,000 through the reporting period, with expenses better than budget by $726,000, offset by non-assessment revenue worse than budget by $90,000. And number 3. This slide shows our most significant operating fund variances by category, with green bars representing favorable variances to budget and orange bars representing unfavorable items. The favorable, overall we had favorable variances in employee compensation related cost of, $292,000 favorable variable balance was primarily in general services having various open positions such as custodians and mechanics. Additionally, landscape has various opener gardener and irrigation positions, offset for gardener positions in outside services. To a lesser extent, open positions remain throughout the organization. Recruitment is in process. Partial offset to the savings was in recreation as events and operating hours returned to pre-pandemic service levels, and turnover factor assumed at budget creation was too low. 2025 budget has been adjusted to reflect that turnover. Cable programming and franchise fees were favorable by $288,000 due to franchise fees inadvertently being budgeted twice. The variance is expected to continue through the end of the year. Moving forward, the 2025 business plan only includes the franchise fees once. All right, materials and supplies of $215,000 due to less materials needed than budgeted to date for golf supplies such as herbicide and insecticide, savings in coffee and kitchen supplies at Clubhouse 1 due to its closure, and supplies not yet ordered for the clubhouses. Then last favorable was miscellaneous revenue of $197,000 due to electric charging station revenue as a result of an increase in rates effective September 2023 after the 2024 business plan was approved. Additionally, clubhouse labor revenues at the Performing Arts Center were higher than budgeted due to a high number of events held by clubs. Furthermore, this demand is higher year to date for personal training and group classes at our fitness center. Unfavorables. First, we have utilities and telephone unfavorable for $202,000 due to electricity rates on an average of 60% higher than budgeted. In addition, gas rates were also higher than planned. Both electricity and gas rates have been adjusted for the 2025 plan, providing a slight offset. Water expenses were lower due to 47% more rainfall than recent years, which the budget was based on. We have a broadband services of $363,000 unfavorable due to clients allocating less dollars to cable TV advertising. In addition, the internet revenue was slightly over budgeted, which has been adjusted for the 2025 plan. Finally, revenue of the set-top boxes is lower than anticipated as streaming becomes more popular amongst the community. Slide number 4, please. All right, this slide shows sources of revenue other than assessments, such as fees and rentals. To date, we have received $6.5 million of non-assessment operating revenue as shown in this pie chart by category. We can see that our largest revenue is broadband services, i.e. the internet, set-top boxes, ad insertion, and premium channels, followed by golf revenue, clubhouse rentals and fees, and merchandise sales. Other revenue, which includes class fees, electric vehicle charging revenue, additional occupant fees, equestrian center fees, and RV storage fees, among others, amount to 15%. These revenues offset costs and help keep the assessments down. Slide number 5, please. Consistent with prior months, our largest operating expense is compensation, followed by cable and programming expenses of the $25 million. Excluding depreciation, these two categories account for 71% of the overall operating expense. Insurance, professional, and legal, utilities and fuel, outside services, et cetera, make up the remaining 29%. Slide 6, please. The reserve and restricted adjusted balances, funds adjusted balances are shown here. Starting with the first column on the left, reserve fees have a combined ending balance of $44.4 million. Restricted fund balances have an ending balance of $2.8 million. Included in these totals are contributions received this year through assessments, trust and facility fees, and investment earnings. The second column shows the work in progress of $11.4 million for reserve and $44,000 for restricted, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet completed. And the third column represents the resulting adjusted fund balances of $33 million for reserve and $2.7 million for restricted. Slide 7, please. All right, we have a slide here to show the resale history from 2022 to 2024. Community-wide sales total 467 through July 31, 2027. Most of these transactions generate the trust facility fees. The transfer fee is the source of revenue for our reserves. Slide number 8, please. This listing on this slide gives you an idea of where the reserve money is committed. Of the $29.8 million appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, the remaining encumbrances against our reserves is $17 million, primarily for renovation projects. Restricted funds had a total appropriations of $47,000 for the West Peak Fuel Modification Project, which has been completed. And slide number 9. Here we compare our adjusted fund balances to historical balances for the past 5 years. On this next chart showing the GRF has averaged $29.4 million in reserve funds and $2.7 million in contingency fees. Thus ends the reading.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Bill on our treasurer's report? Okay, yes, Steve.
I did have a slide prepared for a presentation for the
All right, if you'd
vehicle.
like to give your report from M&V.
Yeah, real quick. Michaela, do you have that? So we met M&V on August 7th. Staff presented some information on all the ridership programs, including the fixed route, Journey, and Boost. I wanted to display this so that everyone in the village would understand where we spend the money on our transportation system for the bus services and what that costs per man or per month, and what the cost per trip is for the services that we provide. So we get a lot of questions about how much do we spend, how much does it cost, is it a good expense, whatever the case may be. And as the new chair of M&V, I thought it was important to present this information today and to make it a matter of record. Also, I did want to say that we have 2 upcoming transportation pop-up booth locations. On September 9th at Clubhouse 2, there will be a pop-up, for Transportation and at the Towers on October 17th. The same will apply. The next meeting is November 6th at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's look quickly at future agenda items. We brought forward from this meeting the golf fee recommendation, the updated traffic fees, the revision of the Golden Rain traffic rules and regulations, and the PAC update. I'm going to suggest the discussion of smart cards just stay on future agendas. It's not something that we will be ready to discuss in October, since the SCAC does not meet until the end of October. So quickly, director's comments. Kush, we'll start with you.
No further comment. Thank
Okay. Gan?
No comment.
Joan?
Thanks, everybody, for all your hard work, especially in traffic, and you guys, terrific. Thank you.
Bill?
No further comments.
Bill? Donna?
No comment, thank you.
Yvonne?
None. Thank you.
Egon, no? Steve?
Good meeting. Thank you, staff.
Okay. In that case, we will recess, and I think we'll recess until 1:45. We need to cut that just a little bit, so we are in recess.